Gotcha. Welcome to the 2023 Stars Championship Series online, heading into the Watkins Glen International. We are live for the Empire Grand Prix, a 3.37 mile track, 11 corners of distance, playing host to today's action here at the Watkins Glen International Stars Championship Series, presented exclusively by Grid Vision as we get set to go for an adrenaline pumped spectacle here. Let's get set on the Watkins Glen International. My name is Emery Lida. I'll be joined in the booth here by Alexander Searle, as well as our producer Taylor Burris, getting set to go here as we see cars rolling out for the first session of this broadcast here, the F4 cars, the semi-pro action. 13 cars so far we've seen on track in practice as we get set to go for tonight's action. Again, F4 coming up with around 13 to 15 entries, and then 40 guys going to be making up the entry list for the F3 category here at Watkins Glen. Again, a fantastic way to get back to the Stars Championship Series roots on the iRacing platform. Phenomenal track in Watkins Glen. F4 and F3 cars that people are very used to driving, and really this should be set for an outstanding spectacle as we get set to go for the first of hopefully many online events here in the 2024 season as we get set to kick off the Stars Championship Series for 2024 and beyond. Again, this event sponsored exclusively by VRS and RaceLab as we get set to look at the track map. Again, 3.37 miles the distance, 11 corners, Watkins Glen International, a beautiful facility established in 1956 in the state of New York, locating well within the forests and villages of New York. You can see the temperature about 72 degrees here in this virtual environment, a little bit cooler than what it was yesterday when the drivers were on track for their first unofficial practice session. Again, sponsored by VRS and Grid Vision, presented exclusively by Grid Vision as we're getting set to go here. There you can see a couple of the F4 cars making their way onto the track again for a qualifying session. We've seen them go through FP1 and FP2. This is Eric Sove as he is making his way around the track. We saw him in the second free practice, looked to be about a second and a half off, so we'll see what he can do here heading into qualifying as we get set to go for the F4 action. And Alex, we're getting set to go for what should be an exciting night of racing.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Watkins Glen is one of the great tracks we have in North America for sure, and the F4 car is going to bring us some incredible action tonight. I mean, as they get through here, we're on the boot section of the racetrack, which is probably the preferred layout for most drivers here, as Eric Stowe is getting ready to start his first of two flying laps here in qualifying. And yeah, these F4 cars, especially during the race, like you said with Eric, he was on his second half off in practice, but I don't suspect that to be a factor in the race because the toe is such a major impact on this one, right? Long front straightaway here, downhill into the braking zone. This is a tough corner. You got to hit that curb, let the car rotate a little bit, because if you go too wide, right, you'll get a 1X, which is something in iRacing that they do. You go off track, you hit the grass, you go a little bit too wide, you're going to get a 1X on off track. It disqualifies your lap. So you're going to see a lot of drivers probably take their first or second lap even to kind of, get their bearings right, get a banker lap in so they can ensure themselves a decent starting spot for qualifying. But yeah, again, a long back straightaway as well on a very fast chicane that you have to get correct here. You see the curb really upsets the car. So it's going to be very interesting to see how these drivers can navigate this tough circuit.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, talking about the boot layout, there's a lot of challenges that go within it. You mentioned the chicane, also understanding what gear to go into on the low-speed corners and making sure that you don't over-rotate the car. We see it now in F3, or in F4. We'll see it some more later on in F3. But really, I mean, knowing that it's single car qualifying and knowing that you don't get the benefit of the draft, which is huge in both the F3 and the F4 categories. I mean, Alex, you got to say, when qualifying here, you got to be careful with going off track, like you mentioned. You've got to be careful not to over-rotate the car, to make mistakes that are easy to make around this track. So, I mean, it's certainly a challenge for these drivers, and we'll see how they all stack out without a draft and really kind of getting the individual shakedown runs that should set the grid for the race later on.
Yeah, I got a chance to do a couple of laps here today around this place, and yeah, these open wheel cars get quite, upset when you hit some of these orange and yellow curbing here, especially in the bus stop. Like I mentioned, my first 2 laps there, I hit the curb and around I went, right? So you got to be really, really careful with how you navigate through this racetrack here. As we see one of the other cars here, you see how much the car just gets 4 in the air, and there he goes right around. That's the 5 car there of Jackson Dowell. He's around the bus stop, and it's that easy. I mean, I don't suspect that will be the first or the last time that we see that all night long. 4 tires in the air through the curb, car landed wrong, and around he went. I mean, it's that easy, Emery.
Yeah, certainly. And when you get on the curb, it's a risk versus reward type of thing. And we saw Jackson deal there. Maybe took just a little bit too much. And as soon as you take too much of that curb with enough speed and it over rotates, it is hard to correct. So, like you mentioned, I'm sure it's not going to be the last time. Again, when you see people losing, it's usually around that into that state there where you'll see the mistakes happen. But I mean, so far it's a P2 for deal. So even with that mistake, he's still doing pretty well. Doesn't look at Luca Brancati's currently running in 4th position on the leaderboard, 1.2 seconds off the pace. Looks to be on a hot lap here as he comes down into the second part of the track. You can see over there, we'll see again, this is so critical on the exits here, making sure you don't overrun the corner coming into, I believe that is turn number 9 on the official track map as they come through. And again, you can just see the sliding. It's going to lose a little bit of time. It's a firm balance between not over driving the car. I mean, some of these corners you come through here and it just makes it so easy to overdrive as he comes into the final corner, getting set to head towards the main straightaway out of turn 11. A little bit wide there. We'll see what Brancati can do coming to the line as he puts down another flyer here, Alex.
Yeah, Brancati rocking the Red Bull livery, hoping he can put together a Max Verstappen style lap there. He's going to remain in P6, but I want to mention, you were talking about the rotation you get around this place, and especially in turn 9, as we see there's the number 3 car as well of Hector Collazo there. He's actually able to maintain balance a little bit there with the Ghost livery on the race car there, but he's going to go into the boot section of the racetrack. You can see him exiting the corner there. You tend to skateboard on these curves if you don't do it properly. Good rotation through this section of the racetrack. On the exit, you got to be careful on this curve as well. Now he's going to start to climb the hill once again. This is the toe part of the racetrack, the back part of the boot section here. So he's going to now climb the hill, long back straightaway, entering the heel part of the racetrack. These few corners are tough to navigate, right? Because this is going to be an uphill into a slightly downhill braking zone. It's tough to spot your reference point here. Let's see if we can get it done. Down to 3rd gear. Good rotation. iRacing gives you a bit of leeway on how much track exit you can run there, so that's going to be fine for him. This corner, it's slightly off camber and a super long, frustrating corner to navigate. He did a really good job there, but you tend to get a lot of over-rotation naturally with how this track layout is, and there's a penultimate corner. Be careful not to run too wide, or you will skateboard across that exit curbing. You almost just throw the car into this final corner and just avoid the outside wall there. It seems to be a solid couple of corners there for Hector Collazo as he crosses the line. What this lap gonna put on P2?
Yeah, good improvement there from Collazo, down to 147.6 on the lap time. So good effort from Collazo aboard the Ghost livery, and you can see now a look at Brett Stern. That is one driver that has not put down a lap so far in this session. We'll see what he can do here, but I mean, again, looking back at the back half of Collazo's lap, that's part of what you can see with the risk versus reward. Once you get that rotation down, yes, it might be a little bit uncomfortable. I know from experience, you come through that last corner on this platform, you try to send it as far as you can, and sometimes it doesn't feel comfortable, but the closer you can get to that edge of the track limit, the better you're going to be, even if it comes in with a little bit of sliding on exit.
Yeah, we saw Ty Arbogast there cross the line. He's going to run P11 there, a little bit off the pace from what we would expect from him from what we saw in practice, but his first flying lap of the qualifying session. Right now there are no cars on track. We saw one of the drivers there, I believe it was Brett Stern, like you mentioned, who hadn't put a lap down yet. So let's see if that's going to be kind of a strategic play for him, or if he's just cruising around trying to get some heat in the tires possibly to get his first flying lap. What do you think, Emery?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, certainly you would think it makes sense to put down a couple laps and guarantee yourself a good starting spot. But at the same time, I mean, I guess maybe he knows something that we don't in terms of tire warm-up and certainly with degradation over the course of this session. So we'll see how it plays out. Certainly interesting to say the least. I mean, in a smaller field like this, qualifying isn't going to be quite as critical because with attrition and with a 25-minute race, you're going to have time to make up spots. But still interesting to see Brett Stern there go out on the track and then not set a time as of now in qualifying.
Yeah, I mean, there is a bit of a risk factor, right? I mean, I know a lot of drivers if you're watching and you guys do iRacing, I mean, you notice a lot of times online, people tend to not qualify just to avoid any risks at all. I do that sometimes when I'm online and I'm sim racing. So maybe it's a strategy for him, right? It's a downhill turn one, cold tires. It's a tough brake zone to navigate. And so for a driver like Brent, maybe he's thinking if I just sit here and sit P12, I might be able to come out P6 out on the exit of turn one. So maybe it could pay off for him. But so far, it is still Leo Ovcharov out front and by 7/10 of a second. That's going to be a tough gap to close, even with the tow. It'll be interesting to see what these drivers can do if they can find some time in the race later on.
Yeah, Ovcharov was able to get himself onto pole position officially as checkered flag comes out. He will start on pole position alongside Hector Collazo in the second position. So a solid effort from both of your front two. Jackson Deal, we saw him spin earlier in the session. He ends up in third. Savio Panchia in fourth position. Wyatt Smith and Luca Brancati on the third row. And then you got Aaron Gibbs and Eric Silva on row 4. Forrest Adams and Ashton Woon make up your top 10 here in the F4 session as we get set to go through the rest of the grid. Ty Abrascaz as well as Christian Gomez rounding out your field of drivers that set a lap. So Alex, I mean, an eventful first qualifying session. We saw a couple of guys test the limits, a couple of spinners, but ultimately a good effort from these guys as they'll now get gridded up, get set to go, and get ready for their main event here, the first on the night here at the Watkins Glen International.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest story from that qualifying, besides Ovcharov getting that pole position there, was Jackson Dial. After the spin, still wind up P3s. It's a good showing for him, and it'll be interesting to see what that did for his confidence, right? Because you're P3, but you had a spin in qualifying, so you're going to go in there probably pretty timid the first couple of laps through the bus stop, which is it's one of those corners where you can really make or break a lap here, as we saw that happen to him on his second flyer there. So Jackson Dial, his confidence may not be at a high right now, but a P3 is something that he'll take.
Yeah, certainly. And I think Jackson Dial, maybe you take the first few laps a little bit more cautious at the bus stop, but it's a risk-reward thing, again, where you're looking at, I mean, you have to use those curbs. If not, you're going to lose tenths at a time. And so at some point, knowing that he's starting third, knowing he has the pace to run up at the front, he's going to have to evaluate whether it's worth it or not to really push that car to its limits. Because if you spin in the race, that's pretty much over, unless there's a full course yellow, which is unlikely tonight, according to what we've heard from the Stars officials, barring any sort of massive catastrophes on the opening few laps. But, I mean, it's going to take a lot to overcome a spin in the race, borderline impossible. So in qualifying, that sort of limit pushing is fine, but in the race, you might want to back it down just a little bit. We'll see what Jackson Dial does as we get set to roll off here for this race, Alex.
Yeah, pace car is off. We're getting ready to do our one warm-up lap of the night for these F4 drivers. Get as much heat in the tires as possible, especially for Leo Ovcharov, who's going to be leading the field to green. Like I've been mentioning all night, though, is that turn one is one of the most underratedly difficult corners to get around. I mean, it is a completely downhill braking zone into a tough exit where you can run a little wide, but it's give and take. If you run too wide, you lose too much time on the exit when you climb the hill, and if you don't run wide enough, you haven't carried enough speed through the corner. So it's a corner that these guys are having to probably learn as the night goes on as well, even with FP1 and FP2 happening yesterday and today. So these drivers are probably still learning a bit of this racetrack, but it's going to be interesting to see how Leo does at the start of this race.
Yeah, certainly. So, I mean, again, an unknown. I've been through a lot of these when it comes to turn 1, lap 1, cold tires. In a 12-car field, you would hope that it's a little bit more, I guess, more civilized in a sense, but you never know how this is going to be. I expect a lot of the drivers to be a little bit more conservative under braking, knowing that one mistake here and you're kind of throwing away your entire race. But we'll see how Ovcharov as well as Hector Collazo makes up your front row. We'll see how they're able to be able to make it happen there on the first couple of laps. We've seen both of them show the pace throughout both practice and qualifying. So really the question is, can anyone keep up with Ovcharov? But as well as that, who makes the mistakes on the opening few laps?
Yeah, no, for sure. Especially with cold tires and with the pace car not going too quick, right? It's going to be difficult to get heat in these tires. I know from yesterday to today, there's been a bit of a track change, right? Yesterday in practice, they were practicing with about 78 degrees with the track temp, and now it's they cooled it down a little bit, so it's a little bit tougher to get heat in the tires, but the tires should last longer than they did yesterday in the practice session. So it'll be interesting to see how much tire preservation has on this race, right? I don't presume it'll have a lot, but with 25 minutes, it's quite a long time to have on these slick tires. So we'll see if some drivers take, the road of tire saving, or if they want to treat it more like a sprint and push and risk losing, tire deg towards the end of the race. So it'll be interesting to see the different strategies that we, see in this race over the course of these 25 minutes. And as well, how much the draft plays a factor. I mean, in practice yesterday, it didn't seem to matter as much as the F3s did, but let's see what happens here, Emery.
Yeah, certainly. And the tire management should be important. Again, 25 minutes, like you mentioned, it's a lot of distance here for the F4 cars, but it's also not necessarily a massive endurance race. And also, I mean, to be honest, these cars can be a little bit more difficult to really manage the tires, just knowing that you really have to push quite a bit to get the most out of it. We saw a lot of sliding in qualifying. That will take some life out of the tires, but for now, the drivers are not worried in the slightest about life in the tires. They're worried about the start. And so for the first time this year, 2024, it's the Empire Grand Prix. Leo Ostrov and Hector Collazo getting set to go for the green flag. 25 minutes of distance. We're green here at Watkins Glen International. And Leo Ostrov with an amazing start to get himself well clear of the field heading into turn number 1.
Yeah, he timed that start perfectly. Collazo on the outside. He's going to hold on at P2. Pretty much single file climbing the hill here so far. So far, so good for all these young drivers in the semi-pro class. Really well mannered here throughout the first couple corners as they're going to climb the hill down the back straight into the bus stop. And look at the run that Hector Collazo has, proving the draft is a big factor in this one. The number 3 Ghost livery car is he down the inside? Nothing there. Late lunge there from Panisha. Nothing to it. Wow, these drivers are really jumping the curve there in the bus stop, taking a big risk to start this one out, but it worked out for them.
Yeah, certainly. Ostrov is the one guy that probably is the best through that chicane on the opening lap, and now Hector Collazo is going to be under fire from Panchia behind him. Savio Panchia trying to make a move. He started this race in 4th, already up into the 3rd spot, looking for more down the inside here. Coming into turn number 7, he'll get the job done. Looks like on Collazo, trying to run him all the way to the edge of the track. Gonna go side by side on exit. Collazo hangs it in there, and Alex, as they come down the chute straight, you can see there the effect of the draft as Collazo's able to pull back even, but into the turn number 8, you can see there. Oh, it looked like it was going to be Panchia going clear into turn number 9, but unfortunately there he goes a little bit wide. And he's going to keep the place for now, but it's now a 4-car train back from 2nd to 5th with Luca Brancati trying to join in 6th position as well.
Yeah, that was some great racing there, but to start the race off, it's not really what you want to do, especially with how quick Ovcharov has been in practice and qualifying. You don't want to give him any room to pull away, and it's brought the group of Smith, Brancati, Gibbs, Adams back into play, because these top 3 had pulled away in the opening couple corners, but they are all back in it. But I think this is going to be a close one, Emery, because the draft seems to be a big factor, as that is Jackson Deal going way wide in the exit of turn 1 there.
Yeah, I mean, Jackson Deal goes quite a bit wide. That's going to put him under fire there for that 4th position. But, I mean, really, you're talking about a 2x2 battle from 2nd and 3rd and now 4th and 5th. But down the back straight, you can see the draft effect. You can see also Ostrov trying to pull out to kind of avoid the draft a little bit. And then on the flip side, Panchia going defensive. That's going to compromise him through the chicane. And coming down through turns 4 and 5, you can see Panchia trying to keep the spot through the S's. He's successful there, but he's got a lot of pressure from Hector Collazo, which is not what he wants to have, knowing the effect of the draft and knowing the amount of pace and consistency that Ostrov has had through every session so far.
I think Jackson Deal made a mistake in the bus stop because he has lost quite a bit of ground. He was only 2 seconds off the lead. Now it's 5.5, and he's lost spots to Brancati and Gibbs. He's down to the P7 there. So I wonder if we can get a bit of a replay on what happened to Jackson Deal. But back up front there, it's still Panisha holding on to 2nd place over Collazo. This is probably going to be the battle that we see for the remaining 21 minutes of this race, because Ovcharov right now not pulling away as much as we would have expected from his pace in qualifying. But so far, Panisha holding on just within the reach of getting a bit of a tow from your leader, but Collazo keeping him honest, and they're pulling away quite a bit here from Wyatt Smith.
Yeah, certainly. And Panchia, though, looks like he's starting to come back a little bit. He's within 8 tenths. That's about the distance he was this time last lap. And now we'll see the effect of the back straightaway, or of the front straightaway draft. You can see Panchia closing in by the minute, under braking now, under 7 tenths, just about coming through turn number 1, the 90 there, as they call it at Watkins Glen International. And again, Panchia, he's shown the pace where he's not been under pressure to at least keep up with Ostrov, but he needs a couple of clean laps here as they come up towards turn 3, down the back straight into the bus stop chicane there. We'll see what he can do as he now continues to get that draft, really seeing the effects coming down into turn number 4, Alex.
Yeah, and all this driving here behind the leader Panisha, it's allowing him, Avsharov, Panisha's able to save tires a little bit more than your leader, right? Who's having to push quite a bit harder to maintain this gap here, as Panisha now is starting to put pressure on your leader, Leo Avsharov. Good section here. He's got a good exit. Look at the toe keeping him in reach. Last time through this part of the racetrack, he was 8 tenths behind. Now it's 3 tenths, make it 2 tenths. Look at how good this car is handling right now through this back section of the racetrack, Emery. Savio Panisha might have a chance at the lead here in the coming laps, so 20 minutes still to go in this one.
Yeah, I mean, what I'm looking for is, he's turning in a little bit earlier, carrying a little bit of a tighter entry line, gives up a little bit on exit, but really what he's doing is minimizing the wheel spin on exit, and that is keeping him really with good traction, and it's allowing him to really, in my opinion, save some more tires. So not only is he saving tires, but he's also able to carry more apex speed and carry enough speed on exit to even it out. So, I mean, this has been really good from Panchia the last lap or two. Yes, the draft has helped, but he has shown a lot of pace. He's dropped Hector Collazo, and now coming down the main straightaway, he'll have a good shot at the lead here coming into turn 1 as he looks behind Leo Ostrov. Not going to make a move, I don't think, into 1, but certainly is putting pressure on the number 35 machine, Alex.
Yeah, it's a smart move there for Panisha to not make a move on Ostrov in a turn 1. As we get a replay here, let's see what happened to one of these drivers. That is the 0-6. That is Eric Sove, who's going very slow in the back section of the race. Or this is the replay, sorry. So he's going to go wide here. I believe it's an incident with Eric Sove. He's going to skateboard on the curb. And what's going to happen here to the 0-6, Emery?
We'll see what happens there. Comes through. Again, goes wide. Oh, a little bit too much speed, and it looks like he was just barely able to keep it out, but not a good run there from Eric Sov, and that will take him out of contention of the back half of the top 10. And again, it's what we were talking about. You make a mistake in qualifying, you still have all the different laps to bank on. You make a mistake in the race, and it is race over for you. So, difficult race there from Sov. He's still in the field. He's only 18 seconds back, but not how he wanted to continue running this one as he's is shotgun on the field, but we've still got a battle for the lead heating up here with Avsharov continuing to be under fire from Panchia as well as Hector Collazo.
Yeah, Panisha, like you mentioned, he tends to turn in a little bit earlier than Avsharov, and I wonder, I don't have enough experience in the F4 cars, but I wonder if part of that as well is to try to avoid any bit of aero wash that you'd get from being behind another driver, and I think it's working out for him right now. Like you said as well, he's done a very good job minimizing wheel spin. Like we saw with Eric Sove there in turn 9, it's really easy with that off-camber corner to lose traction. So Panisha doing a very good job of not letting that happen. That is back-to-back laps, by the way, that he has just clipped the outside wall in that final corner. So giving it everything he has, and even beyond the limits a little bit there for Panisha. He needs to be careful because you could easily bend a toe link here on one of these cars and your race is over.
Yeah, Panisha again right on the limit. So far he has not gotten over. We still got 17 minutes to go. Big pressure going on for the lead. Panisha continuing to find that pace down the back straightaway. He'll have a chance here coming into the bus stop if he wants to make a move. We'll see if Ostrov goes defensive. Not going to go defensive. Looks like Panchia is going to go down the inside here coming into the bus stop chicane. He's going to make the move. Collazo onto the scene as well in third. And for the first time all race, and we have a new leader. Move Savio Panisha up to P number 1. And now Leo Ostrov is going to have to make a move to find himself some pace to try to keep up with the number 34 machine who has ran him down and now made the pass for the race lead, Alex.
Yeah, I mean, after the pace that we saw from Ovtcharov in practice and qualifying, I'm sure this is not how we expected his race to go. I mean, he thought he'd have clear daylight ahead of him for the entirety of the 25-minute race, but with 16 minutes to go, he actually has to go and make a move on Panisha, but Collazo behind him is going to have a chance. And I think if Collazo wants any chance of this win, he's going to have to get around Ovtcharov as soon as possible, because with the pace that he's had, he wants to put Ovtcharov in kind of a tough position to be P3. As wow, Panisha goes very wide there on the exit of turn 8, but it's going to pay him a benefit there. He got a pretty decent exit. Here comes Collazo all over the rear bumper of Ovtcharov, keeping him honest here through the penultimate corner. Panisha has a bit of a gap, it's 4/10, but as we saw from the past couple of laps of Panisha being behind Ovtcharov, the draft can be a factor within a second.
Yeah, you saw there a slight look to the inside there from Collazo coming into turn number 11. He made a quick peek, decided against it again. Risk versus reward. It's early on in the race. There's no need to be overly aggressive. You can see just how impactful the draft is. But Ovtcharov, again, that draft kind of keeping him afloat now, as you see Collazo going a little bit wide in turn number 1. And I think really it looks like Panisha continues to have the best pace of these three, but the draft is going to keep them all together. And again, provides further insight into what we're going to see later on tonight as we get into the F3 side of things, and certainly the F4 continuing to produce a good battle. Is now Ovtcharov with the draft, going to go back to the inside into the bus stop, and they're going to go side by side for the lead here, Alex.
Yeah, clean move there for Ovtcharov. Smart stuff from Panisha to let him go, because you don't want to go side by side to the bus stop ever. So Ovtcharov back to the point. Panisha's going to have to try to make a move around him, because Ovtcharov, maybe he was saving tires, conserving pace, or just testing a few things out. But Panisha and Collazo, after the pace from qualifying, they have turned up the wick quite a bit from a few minutes ago, and Panisha is back into P2 now, so he's going to have to try to make a move. We know Panisha's quick in the infield. I believe Ovtcharov has a bit of a pace advantage from about turns 1 to turn 6, but this is where Panisha seems to shine, in these back sections of the racetrack, where he's able to turn in early, get the rotation done early, and really get the power sooner than Ovtcharov. And here down to the heel section of the racetrack, we're going to see Panisha and Ovtcharov go pretty wide there, and then through turn 9. This is the section of the racetrack where it's really difficult and really easy to over-rotate the car, but good stuff from both of these drivers. Look at Panisha all over the rear bumper of Ovtcharov.
Yeah, so Panisha continuing to try to find a way by. You have to wonder, with how easy it is to draft by down the back straightaway, if maybe Panisha considers trying to throw a move into one of these turns, maybe into the final corner, which is a very aggressive place to overtake, or certainly another place in the infield. Because without that, it's going to be really hard to make a pass and pull away. You can see they're pulling away a little bit from Collazo now, but consistently, with these two continuing to fight and the pace kind of similarity you're seeing, it's going to take something kind of special out of the bag from one of them to pull away. And so down towards us is again up there through turns 2 and 3. You can see again Ovtcharov coming down, continues to have a little bit of a lead, but are we going to see the change in leadership for the third lap in a row? Ovtcharov again going to give him the inside line. This is too early in the race to be overly defensive, knowing that it's inevitable. But now for the third lap running, Panisha swaps back to the race lead. Again, a three-car battle, and the more that they do this, the more it's allowing Hector Collazo to stay around and maybe save some tires a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I think part of it, it seems to be almost an unwritten agreement, or kind of a handshake agreement between these two guys, Ovtcharov and Panisha, right? Because Collazo, as much as he's right there in the mix, whenever these two guys out front make that pass in the bus stop, they seem to gain about 5 to 6 tenths on Collazo. So they have a bit of a pace advantage over the ghost car there of Collazo, who's in the mix. But if these two guys just keep making that same move in the back straightaway, it's going to be tough for Collazo to make a move. He's going to have to throw on, like you said, in one of these corners to kind of split these two up, because these two right now seem to have about a tenth or two over Collazo, and just the passes are the reason why Collazo's still in the mix here. But right now, Panisha, like I was mentioning on the previous lap, this is where Panisha seems to shine, is in these back part of the racetrack where he pulls away quite a bit. But the one advantage this does for Ovtcharov is that he's 3 tenths back, so on these straightaways, he's able to get quite a bit of an advantage in the toe. He's actually in the final corner, right up to the wall there. It's going to be 3 tenths from the turn 1. I guarantee it'll be less than 0.2. So here we go. Anything to it into turn 1, this downhill, tough braking zone, nothing yet. Panisha, a little bit wide of the apex. He's going to go very wide next to the turn 1. It doesn't tend to pay off to go that wide in the exit. You're making the track longer for yourself, right? So as they climb the hill now, this is where the draft is really a factor, Emery.
Yeah, so we're going to see again another impact of the draft down the back straightaway again. Will Panisha go defensive Looks like he's going to go a little bit more defensive this time. This time, Ostrov going to try to go around the outside, does not make it happen. So again, for the first time all race long, we saw some defending there from Panicia. Don't know if that's been the end of the handshake agreement or if maybe it's just Panicia realizing the value of track position, but certainly interesting to see that. But I mean, the draft here is really keeping the top three according together. Beyond that, though, I mean, we're continuing to see a lot going on, as you can see. Again, they've all pulled a massive through back to the rest of the field. Wyatt Smith in fourth, as we get a replay of an incident with Ashton Woon, seeing what happened to him coming through. I believe that's turn number 8 and just overcorrected into the barrier, and that will be his car totaled there. So unfortunate for Ashton Woon. The end of his race as we focus back in on this lead battle and continue to see these front three fighting it away. Again, Panicia going very wide on exit, getting a good run into the final few corners, and he has about a 2 or 3 car length lead that will surely evaporate as they come down the back or down the main straightaway, Alex.
Yeah, I love seeing these guys push the limits here, especially in that heel corner with how wide they're going. They are trying to find every bit of advantage possible over the other driver. There's Panicia right up to the wall once again. He is the closest guy. He's almost trading paint with that wall every single lap, but it's working out for him as he's still your leader. Last time around, we saw some pretty smart driving from Ovstrov, right? Panicia went defensive, Ovstrov went to the outside on the back straightaway, and he lifted, right? And that's something that was really smart, because you don't want to be outside of the bus stop, because most likely it's not going to end up good for either of the drivers, right? So it's one of those things where it's smart stuff from him as he gets a monster run climbing the hill down the back straightaway. Let's see if Panicia goes offensive. Nope. Here comes Ovstrov to the inside. And does Panicia now do a lift? Yes, he does. Ovstrov's going to be clear. He's back to the lead. And like I mentioned in the previous laps, right, when these two guys are working well together and they're in unison with each other, it's really difficult for Collazo to even peek out and think about a move in the bus stop.
Yeah, if you're Collazo, you've kind of just got to catch one of them off guard whenever they're in second or third, and whether or not that means trying to make a pass into another corner, like a final corner, like turn number 7 into the loop, or whether it simply means just making a move down the front straightaway, taking advantage of a mistake. It's going to be very important for Collazo to kind of pick his moment there, because if he stays in third, he'll finish in third, and I know that sounds very obvious, a Will Buxton type line, but when you're in third like this and you're boxed out by two guys that are working together, it takes a miracle for you to be able to break them up. So if I'm Collazo, I'm trying to figure out every possible advantage that I have and using that to my disposal, kind of opening up the toolkit to try to find that one way by here as they come down towards turn number 10, Alex.
Yeah, I wonder if we're starting to see the effects of a bit of tire drag, because the past couple of laps, I know turn 9 is one of those corners where naturally you're going to get wheel spin, you're going to get over rotation, but they've been really starting to burn some rubber through that corner. I mean, they were quite sideways through the exit of that one there, and even dipping a tire in the grass. So I think these guys are starting to really use up their stuff, and I wonder if this is going to be kind of an advantage for a driver like Hector Collazo, who has been sitting there in the draft all race long and not using up his tires as much as these leaders have. So let's see, with 8.5 minutes to go, you can see the lead these two guys have. Like I've been mentioning, when they seem to work together and they're on the same page, it's difficult for Collazo to even get close to them. Here comes Panicia, back to the inside. Does Ovtrov lift before the bus stop? Yes, he does. Panicia's going to go back through to the lead.
Yeah, it makes you wonder how this is going to go over the last couple laps, because for one thing, the tire degradation tends to make a bigger difference when it comes to the time delta between the rest of the field. So you might see some of the guys in the top 3 falling off a little bit and how that impacts how they're driving. So we'll see how it goes. I mean, again, Panicia's done a brilliant job of managing this race, as has Ostrov. So both of them working well together, but at the same time, you have to know the tire legs are going to impact, and when you come to the bus stop on the last few laps, the road is going to be a little bit less give and take there. And I know we're going to see at least one of the road things who's leading the race, but also taking a look at who will have the track position. Maybe it's one of those things where if you're in second, you no longer give up the outside, and if you crash, you crash. I mean, they're racers, even though they have VRS subscription. All 3 of the top 3 getting some form of it in different monthly subscriptions. Still, at the same time, it's important from an ego standpoint and a pride standpoint to get as much as you can out of this one, Alex.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned the VRS subscription. It's a pretty cool service. I use it myself, and I mean, it's just one of those things where you want to go on a practice session by yourself or with a buddy, you can compare data just like you would in real life. So the virtual race school is something that these drivers, if they don't have it already, are going to want. And so yeah, P1, 3 months, P2, 2 months, and P3 is going to get 1 month. So no matter what, as long as these three guys can stay where they are, they're going to get some sort of subscription like you mentioned, but you want that 3 months. And so Panisha right now, he's holding on to that one, but Ovcharov climbing the hill down the back straightaway. I wonder what's going to happen here. Inside, he's going to go back through. So Ovcharov now side by side. Panisha's going to inevitably have to lift before the bus stop, and Ovcharov's back through to the lead.
Yeah, Ovcharov continuing to make the lead, or make his way up to the lead. They're continuing to fight it out at the front of the field. A thrilling race so far in F4 as we get down to the final 6 minutes. But in the meantime, we've got an interview here with Christian Marsh of the Stars Championship Series. So Christian, we're back to the online roots. It's been a few years since we've seen this platform, but so far, I mean, what are you taking from all of this, Christian?
Oh man, it's so cool. Just being able to watch these kids duke it out and show the racecraft to the level that they're displaying it so far has been really exciting. And I think for us, man, it's really exciting to get back to the sim stuff. We've been waiting for the opportunity to pull some higher level sim events off, and we've been waiting on the right partner, and just so happened to kind of fall in touch with VRS and that crew, Joe Brickey and their team, and obviously they've pushed us to kind of develop a bigger product than we had pushed before, and we're really excited to be able to offer some cool prizes with them. And also, they've put us in contact with bigger partners like iRacing and the guys over at Race Lab. So I think it's a cool opportunity to come back to kind of where the Stars Championship Series started in a really cool way.
Yeah, Christian, I mean, you mentioned how cool it is to be back on the sim stuff here. Talk to me a little bit about how cool is it to see some of the drivers we're going to see next year in the Real Stars Championship Series over in the go-karts kind of battling out here on the sim.
Oh man, it's awesome, and seeing the translation from the virtual world over to the real world, you know, both in our inaugural season back in 2020 and now with some of our top junior drivers like Jackson Deal and a few others. It's really cool to see, man, and we've seen drivers go from our esports program to getting real life rides to race in the Stars Championship Series with teams that they may not have had the opportunity to run with, you know, if we hadn't had this program. So really just seeing the talent come to the top is really cool as a racer.
Yeah, and Christian, one last thing. I mean, taking it back to 2020, I mean, you guys had kind of a massive launch when it came to the online program, and I mean, we saw with that the development of the Stars Championship Series on the course. We've seen so much development, like you mentioned, with guys getting rides and whatnot. As you continue on to 2024, kind of bringing back this platform, continuing to bring what looks to be a thrilling championship just based on what we've seen over the course of this first race. I mean, where does it go from here? What are you looking forward to in terms of continuing to utilize the online platforms? We see some more battling for the lead here in F4.
Yeah, I think it's really important for us. I think, you know, obviously we took a year or two off from it. It was kind of hard to follow up what we had in 2020, you know, and we did the original sim program when everything was shut down for COVID. We had more than 330 entries in the two classes, and you know, gave away over 150 grand in prizes and a bunch of really cool stuff. So it's kind of hard to follow that up. But like I said, this opportunity to be with VRS and the partners that they've introduced us to, it just kind of seems to be snowballing, and there's some really exciting things in the works. I can tell you guys this series is going to be a little bit different. We're going to throw some different car categories, some different event platforms and formats. So I think it's going to be really exciting, and I think it's a cool opportunity for us to, you know, keep in touch with the community and build some cool opportunities going into next year's karting program.
Yeah, and Christian, one more thing for me as well before we get back to the racing action here, because Hector Collazo just put on an absolute masterclass on how to make a move around the outside in turn one there. But you know, this is the first of I'd say many races I believe that you guys are planning on doing for the online series here. What can we expect next year in terms of, you know, different cars, different tracks, different, you know, semi-pro and pro in the same race here? What are you thinking? Maybe endurance stuff?
Yeah, so it sounds like round 2 is going to be the Beach Bash at Daytona. So we'll announce some more information about it coming up in the next week or so, but we're going to have a chance to run a little bit of a different format, a little more of an enduro format, and see the semi-pro and the pro level guys, you know, share the racetrack, and you know, that'll introduce such a different dynamic compared to the open wheel stuff we've kind of traditionally done. So I think internally we're really excited about that and really excited to see what kind of opportunities it brings.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Christian, for joining us here as we get back to the on-track action. Less than 2 minutes to go, and Hector Collazo from P3 to P1 in just over a lap, and he's pulling away at it too, Emery.
Yeah, this looks like, has that been the finish then? I mean, it certainly looks like Hector Collazo has been able to find himself up to the race lead. That was a sensational move around the outside of turn one while we were talking to Christian there. I mean, Collazo, we said he needed to be aggressive to get himself up to the race lead, or else he would have no shot of winning, and yet he found his way into the race lead. So fantastic stuff there from Collazo, Alex.
Yeah, Collazo with an absolute masterclass to finish that one off. He's gonna finish this one P1 there. The timing and scoring still has a minute to go, but yeah, Collazo going back out on track. It was a pit stop there for Collazo. So Collazo, I believe, was maybe getting some fresh tires there, fresh rubber, and he's had a monster pit stop to come out over 2.5 seconds ahead of Panicia and Off-Trub there. So this is going to get Collazo a pretty easy path to the finish with 50 seconds to go there. I wonder why these guys elected to pit there, but wow, Collazo, I'm getting word there from our producer that Collazo, Panicia, and Off-Trub elected to go with a little bit less fuel than they should have, and they all had to pit for fuel. It worked out because they had such a big gap. But that's something to note for these F3 guys coming up there to be mindful how much fuel you put in your car.
Yeah, so Collazo there, again, it all works out kind of funny there in the sense that all three of them did the same thing, and I think it helps there to shield them because that pit stop was definitely quicker for him than it was for Panicia as well as for Ovcharov. So how about it for Hector Collazo? He was in third for most of the race, made a clutch move around the outside of turn one, fought through the last half of a lap there to take the race lead, and now as they come through towards the final few corners, it looks like he's going to have a comfortable win here ahead of Panicia as well as Ovcharov. So a fun race from the top three. A little bit of an odd twist there with them all running out of fuel, but it looks like it's going to end really how it should after that last few laps of battling.
Yeah, Hector Collazo on board the Ghost livery F4 car. He's going to round the final couple of corners here, and he's only led 2 laps here, but there's still 1 lap to go here, but Collazo 2.2 seconds ahead of Panicia. It's going to take an absolute masterful drive here as the grid division white flag is in the air. Sorry, the checker flag's in the air, so it is going to be the checker flag, and Collazo, you can see what it means to him. Hector Collazo takes the victory and the 3 months VRS subscription. Panicia's going to be second, and Leo Ovcharov is going to round out your top 3. And how about Wyatt Smith? Good comeback drive for him in fourth. And Jackson Deal, even with a bit of a mistake early on in the spin and qualifying, a top 5 for him. He'll take that one, Emery.
Certainly good recovery from Jackson Deal, but the story of the race, Hector Collazo was in third for the whole time, found himself up to the win, and now he gets to burn it down. 3 months of the virtual racing school subscription for Collazo with that victory, and I'm sure a very happy camper after that one. I mean, a phenomenal move around the outside of turn one, multiple good battles there, and he really was patient. He waited until the last possible second, and Collazo gets it done. A fun race, an entertaining race and battle between all of your top 3 again. I mean, what a battle that was between Leo Ovcharov, Hector Collazo, as well as Savio Panicia. At different points, it looked like all 3 of them had control of the race, but at the end of the day, Hector Collazo walks away with the main prize and the main event victory here in the F4 category at Watkins Glen International, presented by the Virtual Racing School and Race Lab exclusively on Grid Vision, Alex.
Yeah, Hector Collazo there burned him down, but yeah, good stuff there for the Ghost livery driver and Hector Collazo. He's your first of 2 winners we're going to see tonight there. When we come back, we're going to get set to go for some F3 racing. Don't go anywhere.
karting is one of the most intense forms of motorsport, and if you manage a racetrack or commercial facility, you know how hard it is to find good help. Let us introduce to you our newest track safety product, the 4-flag light system from Pixelcom. Pixelcom products are incredibly affordable, and our plug-and-play system makes the only requirements lights and a wireless remote. The ability to upgrade your system with intuitive software and additional products makes this the perfect system for tracks of all sizes. Communicating with drivers on track will make your program run more smoothly, and most importantly, increase safety dramatically once deployed. Find us online today at tracksystemsna.com and let us elevate your motorsport.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head to head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
This is our VRS Direct Force Pro wheelbase, which is the heart of any sim racing setup. It's designed to give you the best possible feedback for all sim racing titles, and it was co-developed with the world's best sim racers to make sure it's fit for competition.
Right from the beginning of the development of the VRS systems, we threw it straight in the deep end. We were racing World Championship level events, and that allowed us to get the best possible idea of what we needed in that competitive environment to be able to push the product forward to obviously what you're seeing today.
I think the most important features are just having really good detail through the wheel. You know, I think the software and how it kind of interacts and sends you the detail makes a huge difference. And for me, since using the VRS Direct Force Pro, that's greatly improved my wanting to drive just because it's so much more fun, you get more detail.
And other than that, of course, the feedback is really important. You know, heavy but also very subtle forces behind it, so you can constantly feel what the car is doing. I think that's really important, not just for racing, but when you really have to go deep into building a setup, you really need to feel what the car is doing. And obviously the rig arm isn't really moving around, so you need to feel all those subtle little things in the wheel.
The wheelbase makes use of an industry-proven Midge servo motor, directly feeding up to 20 Newton meters of torque to your steering wheel with close to zero mechanical notchiness, damping, or friction. The shaft can be equipped with an adapter to make it suitable for any wheel. The brain of the wheelbase is within the compact USB motor controller, which features a fanless power supply for silent operation and a dynamic brake resistor to provide the smoothest and most responsive operation possible. Our firmware is provided on our website to give you full control of the wheelbase with multiple profiles for different sim racing titles, completely customizable to your liking. And is all designed to help you get on pace faster. You can shop for the VRS Direct Force Pro wheelbase and all our other hardware directly on our website vrs.racing.
All right, welcome back to Watkins Glen, the Stars Championship Series Empire Grand Prix, presented by VRS and Race Lab, only on Grid Vision. F3 is underway for their qualifying sessions very shortly here. It's their practice session right now. Qualifying will start in about 10 minutes time. While we watch some practice laps, I'm going to announce a few giveaways for our drivers in the F4 series. Some of the drivers who were entered in that were automatically entered into a raffle where Lane Gibbs has won $20 in iRacing credit. Luca Bruncati, you just won a 3-month race lap subscription, and Brett Stern, how about a 3 months new iRacing user credits? So for Brent Stern, you could either give that to a friend, or if you want to start a new account, you could also launch a new account with that new iRacing user credit. And just a quick note for those winners: all the codes will be emailed to you guys post-event. So congratulations to Logan Gibbs, Luca Brucati, and Brett Stern for the giveaways there. As we see, there's Joseph Kazir on board the number 3 teal and white F3 car climbing the hill to start one of his first laps in practice. We see top of the board so far, Bad Brad, Braden Eves with a 137.2, an absolute flyer there for Braden Eves, who, the MP red, black, and white was there for Braden Eves, who is trying to put together a ride next year, so hopefully we can see him on the grid for the USF Pro Series. Braden Eves, number 41 there, absolutely flying right now, Emery.
Yeah, I mean, Braden Eves, as we see one car in the wall there, but Braden Eves continuing to show a lot of pace. I mean, again, the F3 car, not exactly comparison to the USF car, but certainly open wheel. He has a lot of similarity, a lot of comfortability with that car. As I say that, though, goes off the track there through turn number 7 into the grass. So a little bit overdriven there by Bad Brad, but still top of the board so far. There's Vicente Salas in the number 21 car. He's in 12th right now with a time that's about 4/10 off the pace. And he's off the track and into the barriers, are heading into the pits there. So again, a guy with a lot of iRacing experience, a lot of success, is going to be in the mix for sure. There's Vaughn Beasley, another guy who's run a lot of stars races in the past. He's got a lot of experience both on the online platform as well as on the track in a variety of different classes. So Beasley inside the top 10. All of these guys really close together. I mean, the top 20 within 9/10 of a second, the top 5 within 2/10. So Alex, it's shaping up to be a very, very exciting race here in F3. A lot closer field than what we saw on the F4 side of things.
Yeah, this is gonna be chaos. I mean, the top 3 is within 500th of a second, if that's anything to go off here. As Eli Warren, he's only 2/10 off of Braden Eves. Eli Warren, he was in the practice session last night, and he was absolutely flying as well. So this is something that I kind of expected from Eli. On board the blue and white number 24 F3 car there, Budzinski and P3 Fairbairn as well as in the session last night, getting a bit of laps in. And how about Race Liberante in the top 5 so far in the practice session there? I know there's a few other guys in here. There's Race Liberante rocking the same livery as Braden Eves, the MPG colors of the black, red, and white. There's number 34. Liberante is going to pull into the pits here and reset his cars. We see one car, John Antonino, up and over there, I believe, on the exit of the bus stop. So John Antonino is going to have to definitely reset that one. But it's still a top 10 in practice there for him. How about Morgan Burkhardt, who just recently announced that he's signing for a Michelin pilot and TCR entry with Victor Gonzalez Racing. So Morgan Burkhardt, he's going to be one of the drivers to watch. He's also a part of the Parallel Racing group as well. So he is definitely a sim racer at heart. And he's up there, I believe, in the top 10. Yeah, he's in 9th, only 3/10 off of Braden Eves' lap time. As we see these guys kind of working together, probably kind of an agreement that they had before the session here, because they know that this sort of draft is going to be a major factor in the race here. So they're getting a bit of testing to see if maybe pushing is something that's possible, or how easy it is to pass, how easy it is to kind of, get behind somebody, as there is the number 2 entry of Morgan Burkhardt, who's around in turn 1. And a little bit of contact there as well, so didn't work out for him so far, but it's only practice, so it's okay.
Yeah, how about that? There you can see Vincenzo Saracino, the Maranello themed livery for Saracino, number 6. He's inside the top 20 in 14th position right now. And again, beautiful helmet, beautiful car theme there for Saracino. Again, driving aboard the Maranello kart on the 2023 Pro Stars Championship Series Pro Stars category. So Saracino, nice livery in my opinion so far, the best livery we've seen so far. There is Josh Conker, another Maranello kart. He has been on number 54, not exactly the same livery. He's got a red and white themed livery to his machine there. And Conker again, another guy inside the top 20 representing Tommy Motors. He is going to reset that and head straight to the pits and get himself set for qualifying. So Conker going in some good laps. There's John Antonino. We saw him go for a wild ride earlier, but I mean, it's looking close. A lot of fast contenders, a lot of guys that we see on the karting scene, and some from beyond, some that are pro sim racers, some with a lot of car experience. There's a lot of different backgrounds here as we get set for F3. This 40 car field is going to put on a show tonight, Alex.
Yeah, I want to give a quick shout out to Josh Conker. I mean, he was I was over there hanging out with him in Homestead for the Sunshine State Karting Challenge, and he told me he would enter tonight if he could make it back home in time. He had to drive from Florida back up to Canada, made it back in time somehow, didn't get to practice. So the fact that he's only about 4/10 off the pace here, I mean, I know Josh is also a pretty good sim racer, but to still be 4/10 off with no practice is something to be proud of there for Josh, and I expect him to be right in the mix there, as we saw Papasavas and now Cadence Presley as well. Cadence Presley was in the session last night getting some practice in. He's up in the top 16, but back to Papasavas there in the top 8. He had a really, really good year in the USF Pro 2000, so yeah, Papasavas, expect him to be very quick. How about Chase Jones, the third MPG entry, as he slams the outside wall of the final corner, trying to find every bit of speed possible. He's going to have to reset that one. Chase Jones with the MPG black, white, and red car. There's Austin Olds, the fourth MPG entry tonight. So it is an MPG takeover tonight in the F3 class. These guys have been getting some testing in, getting some practice in, so they know what it's like to work in a group. And let's see if it pays off for them later tonight.
Yeah, last minute decision there from Austin Olds to run this category. He was in F4 registered initially, switched to F3. He's looking good so far. And how about James Overbeck, your 2023 KA Stars champion, spinning around there, coming through the loop there. So not exactly what Overbeck wants, but he's in the number 19 machine and will be looking for quite a bit heading into this main event in F3. So Carson Smith now down the main straightaway. Again, all of these guys have quite a bit of pace. I mean, we're seeing the closest field spread that we've really seen over the course of this weekend, and now you can see down to 2.5 minutes left to go. You can see that looks to be a kind of retro Tony Kart themed livery for Carson Smith. So nice to see there. Homage to the OG OTK machine, and again Carson Smith in the number 4. Looks like he has to find a little bit more pace aboard that OTK Tony Kart machine, but a good effort from him so far. And how about Cole Wilson in the 18? Another nice livery there for him. He's another one trying to find a little bit more pace as they wrap down to the last couple of laps of practice. Again, so important that they get the setup dialed in, because qualifying, setting the grid for your 25-minute main event, something that you're really going to have to be able to knock down a lap by yourself. We've seen so many drafting so far through the session, but now a lot of single car runs as they really try to get their last couple laps dialed in and get set to go for what will be a pivotal qualifying to set the grid for this 40-plus car field.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, a lot of guys getting the final bits of practice necessary. Like you said, I mean, it's key to get your solo laps in, because in qualifying there is no tow, like you mentioned. So a lot of drivers, like we see Cole Wilson there going out on his own with a pretty sick Pepsi livery there. I like that a lot. It's like an ice pop almost. So Cole Wilson, let's see if that livery is going to help him get in a pretty decent starting spot in qualifying. Look at that, Josh Conker as well, the number 54. The Maranello colors there. He's up into the top 13 still. And we got Josh in here to talk a little bit. Josh, you and I are hanging out a bit at SSKC for Homestead. You drove home, must have made it back in time because you're here. I mean, how are you feeling?
I'm feeling pretty good. I'm just getting some laps in here. Haven't really had much time for practice, but yeah, I got home pretty late last night. I think it was like 10, 11 o'clock. Just made the drive straight home from Homestead, so happy to be here, happy to be back with the Stars guys, and excited to see that they're running the esports series again.
Yeah, and Josh, real quickly, I mean, we've already seen you show some pace tonight, but heading into 2024 on the kart track side of things, I mean, we saw last year a little bit of a mixed program for you. You ran some OKN, you ran some shifter, that was your primary focus. You ran some 206 stuff on the other side of the border. Just tell me about what you're planning for heading into 2024. Are we going to see more of the same, kind of a mixed bag, or are we going to see Josh Conker focus on really setting his foot down in a certain series?
Honestly, not quite too sure yet. Haven't got anything solid going right now. Just waiting on the guys, seeing what they're saying for next year. But for sure looking to run some 206 stuff, whether it's up here with the Cup Kart Series down south. They go to a couple of tracks that I haven't experienced yet and that I really want to go to. So I'll probably do some Cup Kart stuff. But for sure shifter, I'm trying to put a better program together for Stars. We didn't have the greatest year this year, so looking to focus a little more on the shifter and the Stars stuff, but still running some 206.
Yeah, Josh, one more thing here. As checker flag goes out for practice, so you're going to get ready for quali here, but like you mentioned, you didn't get a lot of time to practice between last night and today. I mean, where's your head at? I mean, the pace seems to be all right, but you need a few more tenths. How are you feeling for qualifying?
Feeling okay. I couldn't really get a lap put together in practice. I'd get half the track down really well, and then I make a mistake on the back half, or you catch some traffic on the lap. So hopefully I can run another 6. If I can run another 6, I think we'll be okay, and then just try and keep the nose clean for the race.
All right, well, thank you, Josh. We'll let you go out there and put some laps down for qualifying. Thank you for joining us.
No worries. Thank you boys for having me.
All right, that was Josh Conker, Maranello shifter driver, and like you said, Emery did some Briggs and did some OKN stuff as well, and still looking for a set ride for next year, and hopefully we can see him in the Stars Championship Series next year on the karting side of things. But qualifying finally getting set to go underway, and if practice was anything to go off of, this is going to be a tight field.
Yeah, certainly. And how about Eli Fox? We saw him run, again, a couple different classes like Josh Conker. We saw him on the KA side of things. We certainly saw him in the OKN where he had some of his best runs. So, again, these guys running for single car qualifying, it's critical that they get their lap down and done really effectively. I mean, we did see Jackson Deal spin it around and still do pretty fine on that last session in F4, but in F3 it's a whole different ball game. I mean, you're talking about instead of a 3-second field spread, the top 25 inside a second. Instead of having 4 or 5 quick drivers, you have 20 quick drivers. So all of these laps, all of these corners are going to have to be spot on if you want to have pole position, especially without the draft, which has been worth a lot of time and maybe has masked a little bit of the leaderboard here so far in practice as we now get into qualifying, to kind of separating the pretenders from the contenders, Alex.
Yeah, it's a good point you make there with, some of those laps might have been masked by a bit of an advantage with the toes. So we'll actually get a really good idea of who is the quickest in qualifying, or who makes the least mistakes, I should say. But like we saw on the F4, if that's anything to go off of, right, with how important the draft is around this place, it really doesn't seem to matter. As long as you qualify in the top 10, you probably have a decent shot at it with 25 minutes to go in the race. So we'll see, how important the draft is in F3. I expected it to be good in the F4, and it was. The F3s are a little bit quicker, but still not a lot of arrows. So the draft is still, I expect, to make a big factor in this one. But we'll see. Obviously, it was still quite a bit of time left in qualifying.
Yeah, and how about Nagisa Yoshikawa? Again, a 206 regular at heart, someone we've seen at a variety of different regional fields, now in the Stars Championship Series online iRacing platform. We've seen him with a lot of pace here in practice, but in qualifying, again, a different beast. You got to put it down consistently. You got to be able to get that one flying lap in with no draft. And Yoshikawa, again, putting together what looks to be a little bit scruffy lap, but still pretty fast as scores, carrying a lot of apex speed aboard that purple machine. So the 98, Nagisa Yoshikawa, having a solid lap here. We'll see what the time is as he comes towards the last few corners. So Alex, I mean, we're seeing, again, in F3, it's even more important that you're able to continue to get those exits nailed down right on the limit. You don't want to go too far over, as that was maybe a little bit far, but certainly trying to do all you can to maximize the exits without going too wide.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing is getting that rotation done early, right? With the way this track works and the way these cars kind of tend to handle on iRacing, right? They have a lot of rotation naturally built in. Obviously, it's dependent on track temp and tire temp and a lot of other things. As we see the first set of laps get put down, Budzinski right now is still P1, but a lot of drivers still yet to go. But the biggest thing, like you mentioned, we're seeing drivers kind of miss the apex sometimes just to try to carry that mid-corner speed and really get that rotation down. So it's interesting to see the different driving styles that we've seen. But the one common trend that I'm noticing is just you have to go out there and send it. These guys are going 4 tires over every single curb, taking a lot of risks, right? Budzinski, they're using all the racetrack possible, sliding through the carousel here, and you see the drivers are going to exit all the way out to the grass almost next to the wall, just trying to find every bit of lap time possible. And Elliot Budzinski, the Team USA scholarship winner from about a year ago, proving why he was indeed a finalist there. He's still P2, even with a bunch of drivers setting their lap times down, but a lot of heavy hitters still to go, Emery.
Yeah, I mean, Oliver Piatek at the moment barely clear of the field, but again, it is so close in the top. I mean, Piatek, Budzinski, Fairbairn, as well as Salas, all within 8 100ths of a second in there. Budzinski getting everything he can out of that 77, or out of that 11. There is the 77 of Oliver Piatek, again, a Stars regular, making his senior debut in 2023. Online, though, he's been a veteran of this series. He ran back in 2021. Talked to him last night. He was feeling very confident about his machine. Felt like when draft was all equated for and everything, he was just as fast as anyone out there in that night session. And so far, with a few guys still yet to put their laps down. He's in P1, although as I say that, how about that? Morgan Burkhardt able to put himself in P1, 2.5 tenths clear of the field. That was a burner there from the number 2 machine.
Yeah, it's an absolute flyer there from Morgan Burkhardt with the MBG colors there as well. So the number 2 driver goes to P1. Piatek's only 2 tenths back. Blazinski 2 tenths back. Papa Savas is going to slide himself into P4 as well, 2 tenths back. Fairbairn's going to go up into P3. And Piatek, he puts down a second lap there, 600th off of Burkhardt. So Burkhardt's going to hold on to P1 still as you look further on the order there. Braden Neves, your P1 guy from practice, P7. How about Vicente Salas? He's going to take the pole so away from Burkhardt by 100th of a second. I mean, this is closer than it was in practice.
This is insane. I mean, with no draft at all of these guys all the way inside the top 10 within half a second. This is insane. How about Caleb Petrie up into the top 10 in 8th position as well? But for Vicente Salas to put a burner down on 137.46, we thought that lap from Burkhardt was insane. The lap from Salas was just slightly better. So all of the top 10 continuing to mix it up, and you can see that lap from Salas was good enough, but now Braden Eves puts it on the point. A 137.43. He was fastest in practice, and now, again, by only 2/100ths of a second, very fine margins, he finds himself in pole position, but the whole entire top 10 so close together. How about 4 tenths down to Eli Warren in 10th, with Josh Conker slotting into 11th. It is so tight up there, Alex, and it's continuing to evolve a little bit as we see the final flying laps coming in. It looks like Braden Eves is going to put just enough down to put himself on pole position.
Yeah, so I think some of those laps we saw in practice were definitely aided by a bit of a toe there, because we saw a 37.2 from Eves in practice, 37.4 for Eves in qualifying there, but he's going to put it most likely in the pole position unless any of these drivers have anything to say about it. But Vicente Salas, who was your eNASCAR champ last year, he's going to put it at P2. Morgan Burkhardt, P3, only 400th back, and then Piatek, a 10th off in 4th. Fairbairn in 5th so far. And then Josh Conker, shout out to him. We talked to him just a few minutes ago. Only 4 tenths off with limited practice. I'm sure if he could walk away with a P11 in qualifying, he'd certainly take that one.
Yeah, certainly. And again, P11, you can work with that in the race. So 25 minutes, that equates to probably about 18 or 19 laps. So Josh Conker will have time to make up quite a few positions there. But Vincenzo Saraceno might be the last guy to really have a shot at pole position. He's outside the top 20 right now, so he's going to need a really good lap on this last time through to have any shot inside the top 10. Some of the surprises up there, we saw Caleb Petrie put it together a good lap, and he showed a lot of pace there. As we see now, Vaughn Beasley slots into the 6th spot aboard the number 9. Again, we saw that earlier. Beasley had a lot of pace in practice, now backing up on the gun here in qualifying. He's into the top 10, but Vincenzo Saraceno continuing to ride with him. He needs a good lap here on that beautiful Maranello liveries. He comes through the final couple corners out of turn number 11 all the way up to the wall. Can Vincenzo crack into the top 20, coming to the line, and it looks like it's going to reset there, did not improve on that lap. So Vincenzo Saraceno not going to be inside the top 20. He will have a lot of work to do in that number 6 Maranello machine. As there you see Samuel Robert continuing to try to find a little bit of pace. So we'll see what the number 36 can do, but it's going to take a lot to outdo what Braden Eves in the number 41 MPG Motorsports F3 machine got and put himself on pole position, Alex. I mean, a phenomenal lap there from Brad.
Yeah, Samuel Robert there is the last driver on track to have any say in the outcome of this qualifying session. One thing to note is Aiden Ingrata did not set a lap, and he was one of the guys going into this one that I expected to be up there, especially in the top 5. With he's a world record holder in some car and track combination. I believe in the F4 as well. So he's definitely a veteran of the iRacing side of things. So Aiden Ingrata there, no lap set. He's gonna have to come from the back of this 43 car grid to have any say in this one. But here we go, Samuel Robert rounding the penultimate corner and then through the final corner. Let's see where this is going to put him. So far, not in the top 20 here, but the number 36 machine is going to cross the line. Is he going to put anywhere near that top 10? No, Samuel Roberts is going to be outside the top 20 there. And so Braden Eves is going to be your pole sitter. Vicente Salas 2nd, Morgan Burkhardt in 3rd, Oliver Piatek 4th, and Jeremy Fairbairn is going to round out your top 5, Emery.
Yeah, Vaughn Beasley makes up the 6th position there. You saw him with a solid lap towards the end of qualifying to put himself in the top 10 and back up a solid practice session there. So, again, a lot of guys up at the front of the field with a lot of speed. Elliot Basinski fell down to 7th. Cadence Presley in 8th. Evgor Spatlasavas, one of the stars of the USF 2000 series this past year, puts himself in the 9th position with Caleb Batry in the 10th spot. Eli Ward and Josh Conker continue down the rest of your order. We can see Jonathan Ocasio and Giancarlo Schooler inside the top 15 as well. Jake Phillips, John Antonino on row number 8. Race Laborante and Chase Jones, both of them, the MPG boys, have a lot of work to do. And rounding out your top 20, Nagisa Yoshikawa and Chase Poltergeist in the 20th spot. So a lot of work to do for some of these guys outside the top 20 as well. But at the front of the field, Braden Eves puts himself on pole with a phenomenal effort there. I mean, sensational lap there from the number 41 MPG Motorsports machine. He'll start on the front row, and it should be an exciting 25-minute main event here, getting set to go with the F3 boys. Again, a lot on the line here, Alex, as we get set to go for this 40-car field.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, this is a huge 40-plus car grid with a bunch of, you know, top level talent that we're going to see in the Stars Championship Series next year on the karting side of things. I mean, if I had to sit here and think about who do I think is going to go ahead and win this one, I mean, it's tough, right? Because the top 5 is so close, even the top 10 is so close. But if the F4 race is anything to go off of in the draft and just the attrition rate of your average iRacing sim race, it's going to be tough to pick a winner here. I mean, I think it's hard to get to bet against a guy like Braden Eves, but I think if there's one guy that I think has a decent amount of iRacing experience and a good amount of, you know, racing experience with the open wheel stuff besides Braden Eves, I'm going to have to go with kind of a sleeper, maybe an underdog pick a little bit. I think Papa Savas is going to go ahead and win this one. Emery, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, Papa Savas has looked really good in practice and qualifying, and of course he has the experience advantage from the USF guys. I mean, a lot of good pace from him this past season. But another guy that has shown a lot of good pace in open wheel cars and has shown a lot of good pace in general. How about Jeremy Fairbairn? I mean, we saw him last night. It showed P1 potential aboard his machine. And Jeremy Fairbairn, I mean, he's going to be really inside the top 5. So he's got a good starting spot aboard that 87. You can see him on row 3. And I really do think a lot of the top 10 is going to be in a lead pack. It's going to be hard to get away unless you work together. And I really do think with Fairbairn's racecraft and as well as the consistency he's seen in every session from him, I'm going to go with Jeremy Fairbairn to get himself on the pole or into P number 1 at the end of this 25-minute main event. But it's going to be hard to beat guys like Braden Eves as well as the rest of your top 10. So Jeremy Fairbairn, my official pick. We'll see how it goes, Alex. I mean, you know, it's as hard as anything to pick these sorts of races with this many fast cars. I mean, 10 guys within 0.4 of a second in qualifying. It's all to play for with the draft now into play as well, and a lot of mixing up that's sure to be going on here with the early parts of this race.
Yeah, another thing to point out as well, I mean, we saw the F4 guys get through turn 1 pretty clean, but there's only about 11 drivers, right? With 40 plus, it's really difficult. I mean, I'm not out there, so for all I know, these guys get out there and they get through turn 1 cleanly, right? But it's so tough with a downhill brake zone, cold tires, right? It's super easy to lock up in turn 1, and so I suspect some rate of attrition in these opening couple of corners, even opening couple of laps. But these guys could surprise me, right? These are some of the best drivers in the country. So, yeah, there's a reason why these guys are in this series. And so, yeah, Braden Eves is going to lead these guys to the green, but there's a bunch of hungry drivers behind him that want to say and who's going to win this one.
Yes. Yeah, certainly. I mean, at the end of the day, it should be an exciting one. Again, a lot of fast contenders up at the front of the field. Braden Eves, again, a fantastic effort in qualifying. We'll see what he can do in 2024 and beyond. But such a good run for him in qualifying. But he's got a lot of competition up there as well. Morgan Burkhardt on the inside of row number 2. His MPG teammate will have something to say, I'm sure of that. Oliver Piatek, we saw a lot of pace from him throughout the session earlier. How about the main contender, the guy on the outside of row number 1, Vincente Salas, almost got pole position. Now, all he has to do is get one more spot with a lot of experience in iRacing, a lot of success in a variety of different competitions. Your 2023 eNASCAR champion with a contender for champion with a lot of experience. It's going to be fun to watch here. A lot of different backgrounds on the top 10, a lot of different guys that could be the winner, and we'll see what can happen between the top 10, between the next 25 minutes as we get set for a thrilling race as they come through the last few corners, Alex.
Yeah, and another thing to mention as well, because sim racing, as much as it translates to the real world, there's a learning curve, and so a lot of the time these guys in the top 10, top 15, top 20 have more experience than others in sim racing. So these guys know what it's like to race side by side, not only in real life but in sim racing as well. It's a different animal completely. It's a different way in handling the race car, as similar as it is. So these guys are going to definitely put on a really good show for us, I suspect, and I can't wait to get started here as the Porsche pace car there is going to pull off to the inside of the pit lane here, and we're going to get set to go green. It's Braden Eves on the inside, Vicente Salas on the outside. Eves goes early. It's a good start there. He's going to dive to the bottom of the racetrack there. Look at a start from Braden Eves. He's absolutely gone. Vicente Salas to the inside as well, defending now from the likes of Fairbairn and Burkhardt there, and Braden Eves holds on a P1. A few guys getting contact there at the exit of turn 1, but it's Braden Eves in the 41 MPG Motorsports F3 car up in the P1.
Yeah, Eves did look at a solid launch there. Now he's already broken the toe on lap 1. So a good start from Eves, exactly what he would have wanted. And behind him, it looks like Morgan Burkhardt's kind of slotted himself into the second spot. Jeremy Fairbairn might pick to win this race up to third, so a good start for him as they all file down into turn 4, the bus stop chicane coming through. We'll see if there's any calamities here on the opening lap. Looks like everyone inside the top 15 has made it through clean. But Braden Eves off to a nice start here as he now is going to be trying to keep up that lead, as now Burkhardt's going to set his sights on the number 41 machine. But early on, it's the MPG Motorsports 1-2 here in the F3 category. Alex?
Yeah, here we go. We're going to quickly learn how big of a factor the draft is going to play in this one, as Braden Eves is going to lead Morgan Burkhardt down the hill into the heel part of the racetrack there, and Eves doing his best snake impression there to try to break the toe as much as possible there. So clearly the draft must be a factor if Braden Eves is doing that already on lap 1 here, trying to break the toe from his teammate Morgan Burkhardt there in P2 as Eves goes a little wide there in turn 9. Burkhardt has kept him honest this entire lap. The gap is maintained about 5 tenths. It's dropping to 4 tenths now, and Jeremy Fairbairn is in third, Budzinski is in fourth. And how about Cadence Presley there in the top 5? And how about my pick, Papasavas, up into the top 6 already, Emery?
Yeah, and how about Racel Barante up 8 spots on the opening lap? It's been the theme of MPG boys on this opening lap. A 1-2 for them as Burkhardt and Eves make their way through turn number 1, but Liberante up 8 spots from 17th on the grid up to 9th and chasing down that lead pack of about 8 guys. Really, I mean, it's all spread out, but outside of the top 7, everyone is kind of in one big pack and line, but no one's really under fire here coming down into the bus stop. I mean, you can see Fairbairn probably the first one under fire. He's going to go defensive here against Elliot Bazinski. As Bazinski makes side-to-side contact, they go side by side. Fairbairn goes with a little bit of a swipe, and he's going to lose multiple spots and maybe come away with some damage. But Bazinski able to get himself through into third. Some contact there for that third spot, and now falling down the order is Jeremy Fairbairn, who again made some contact down that main straight. Don't know exactly what happened, but it looks like that's going to put him well out of contention here on the early stages, Alex.
Yeah, it would be an absolute miracle if Budzinski and Fairbairn get away with that one unscathed. It looks like Fairbairn has a bit of damage there to the left side of his car and even the rear of his car. So we'll see how his car holds up for the remainder of these 22 minutes. But Budzinski gets away with one there, and I think Fairbairn might have just not realized Budzinski was fully alongside him and turned left, and there's contact. But these two drivers lucky to still be in this one. But yeah, Budzinski, no damage I can see to that number 11 all red car. So yeah, the MPG driver is still in third place.
And now we have an MPG 1, 2, 3 at the moment. I mean, Bazinski has fought himself up from 7th to 3rd to join his teammates at the front of the field. We'll see if he has any sort of pace to be able to make up that last little bit. Jeremy Fairbairn was able to find himself up in that top 3 briefly, but now it looks like he's falling way down the order with the damage. Might be a retirement for the number 87 machine. So again, Bazinski board that red livery 811 machine. He's going to have a lot of work to do to catch up to the two MPG boys at the front of the field, but still a lot to be determined here. 21 minutes still to go. This is a long race, a marathon, not a sprint. Now looking back, Cadence Presley under fire. There's Evagoras Papasavas looking for 4th now into turn number 4, the bus stop chicane. He'll get it done. Behind those two, I mean, Oliver Piatek had a rough opening lap there, but he's now finding himself back up into the fight, Alex.
Oh no, Oliver Piatek tried to get on the inside of the carousel on Cadence Presley and completely lost the entirety of the front wing of his F3 car. So Oliver Piatek, after a poor start and a good comeback drive, is going to be out of this one, Emery.
Yeah, I mean, that's the announcer jinx right there. I mean, Piatek looked like he had so much pace this entire event. I mean, free practice 1 was really fast. Free practice 2 looked competitive. And qualifying, he put outside row number 2. A rough start put him back there, and then just trying to make up too many spots. Got himself in a little bit of a pickle coming out of the bus stop, and that is probably his competitive race over. It's going to be hard to run that thing anywhere close to fast enough without a front wing. So an unfortunate end to the competitive chances all over Piatek as he's now sliding down the order. But I mean, that we'll see what he can do in the next few races. But certainly Piatek, unfortunate for him, he'll drop out of that battle. And now Papasavas and Presley going to try to find their way up towards the top 3 next.
Yeah, it's a bit of teamwork out front that I'm noticing from Eves and Burkhardt here, because Burkhardt could have made a move at any point in that last lap. He was, at one point, I believe, 200th behind Braden Eves, but these two guys, noticing that the gap they have over the rest of the field, and we're going to see them do what we saw in F4 earlier today, where these guys might just try to push each other in the back straightaway, or just keep swapping leads here, as we see Burkhardt pushing Braden Eves, using that front wing to the rear diffuser, and it seems to be working out for these guys. This is a bit of karting or NASCAR style driving here. It's working out for the FPG drivers, but I will say one thing, Budzinski, the last 2 laps, has closed that gap from 1.5 seconds to 1.2, so he is still in this one, Emery.
Yeah, I mean, Budzinski's finding that little bit of extra pace, even with the front 2 bump drafting. I mean, this isn't Newcastle, this is Watkins, Glen, believe it or not. So the F3 cars utilizing the bump drafting tactic. I mean, it does help in terms of pace, but right, like you now will start to see what in the background here. And maybe that changes it up. If you're Burkhardt, certainly if you're Morgan Burkhardt, going to try to maybe lose a little bit of patience here with Eves if he's not able to continue to maintain that gap at the front, as Budzinski is closing, and at some point he's going to start to get the draft from those front 2 and at least mitigate the amount of time that he's losing down the straights with them pushing.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think already he's within 9/10 of Burkhardt now, so Budzinski's going to start feeling the advantages of a tow here down this front straightaway. So I wonder if Morgan Burkhardt's going to look in this rearview mirror full of red, and he's going to try to make a move on his teammate Braden Eves here in any second now. I'm surprised it hasn't happened yet, but Burkhardt's still sticking to the tactic of pushing. This is probably what they kind of planned out in the meeting with the MPG boys, but Budzinski is going to have something to say about this one. And Papasavas is 3.7 back. The gaps remain about the same, so far it's a 2-car breakaway, about to be a third car in the mix, and Papasavas in no man's land really in 4th.
Yeah, I mean, if they continue to fight at the front, if Burkhardt makes a move for the lead, maybe that changes things up here, but as of now, it's going to take a little bit of a miracle for Papasavas to find himself up into the lead. There's a battle between 2 of the younger guys in this field, John Antonino, Eli Warren. Antonino hangs on for now. We did see Antonino put it in the barrier pretty rough in practice, so for him to be inside the top 10 here is very impressive. Now, there's Papasavas off the track. A big crash for Avigoris Papasavas on the edge of the bus stop, and that will be his race pretty much ruined there. So unfortunate for the USF 2000 driver. He goes off the track. His bid at trying to catch the top 3 is over here with 17 minutes to go in this final.
I mean, this is an announcer's curse here. Both of our picks are out of this one. And Papasavas, I suspect he just got a little bit too much curve on the entry to the bus stop and looped it, because I saw him do it about 2 laps ago. Took a lot of entry curve, was sideways mid-corner, hung on to it. I don't think it worked out this time around for Papasavas there, who's still rocking the no-wing F3 car, but he's probably going to have to pit here, and his day is essentially over. But yeah, Papasavas was on a pretty decent run up to P4, and his race is over, Emery.
Yeah, it's a good aesthetic without the front wing. Not a fast car, though, as you can see. Back to the battles on the racetrack, you can see, I mean, again, just looking down the order, a lot of close battles, but not really a ton of changing going on for the lead. There's the battle for 4th position. Cadence Presley in number 27 machine continuing to hang on. Again, he got a really good start, maybe not quite as much pace over the course of this race as what he needs, and he's now getting punted down to a score in the 5th position. So again, this will be interesting to see how this race continues to evolve. Guys coming and going, but now Presley going to come under fire here down the back straightaway into the bus stop chicane. Giancarlo Schooler looks like he's made the pass there to get into the 4th spot, and now Johnny Antonio will be the next one to try to hunt after Cadence Presley.
Yeah, Schooler gets back around Presley. He was around him in the previous lap. Presley got back around him, and Schooler's going to go back around him again. Here's a little bit further back. It's Joseph Kazir. This is a battle for what I believe is a little bit outside your top 20 there, but it's beautiful teal and white car there. Yes, the battle for 21st there. That's Austin Olds, one of the many MPG entries into this one there. Nothing going to happen into the bus stop there, but Joseph Kazir all over the rear diffuser of Austin Olds.
Yeah, you can see Kazir's made up 17 spots so far in this race. Had a big issue in qualifying. That will keep him out of the top 15 more than likely, but still an impressive run nonetheless. And how about this? I mean, those two guys outside the top 20, Oliver Piatek and Jeremy Fairbairn, still inside the top 20 with broken race cars. So what they're going to do is they're probably just going to try to hang on for as long as possible. But you can certainly see Austin Olds continuing to find that last bit of pace to get himself up towards the battle for the top 20 there. You can see one of the other cars going into the pits. That might have been John Antonito there pitting early in this race. I don't know if he incurred some damage on that last lap, or maybe he's one that realizes that he has not enough fuel in the car and wants to bail early. So either way, not ideal for Antonito's race, but he's got a long way to go here with 14 minutes and change still left to go at Alex.
Yeah, your two leaders, Braden Eves and Morgan Burkhardt, have turned up the wick quite a bit. Budzinski has fallen off to 1.8 behind your leaders. It was down to 9/10 at one point in this one, but Budzinski now has fallen off the pace just a little bit. I mean, he really can do nothing about this, right? Because Morgan Burkhardt and Braden Eves have been working together for the entirety of the first 11 minutes of this race. So Budzinski to be holding on with the pace that he has is pretty impressive, considering he has no draft and no pushing partner, I should say, in the F3 cars here. But Morgan Burkhardt, Braden Eves are working beautifully together here, and so far so good. I was curious to see if the pushing effect does work in the F3 cars, and clearly it works. I wouldn't try it in real life, but it does work in the sim. And so yeah, with 13 minutes to go, these two guys right now are trying to duke it out, but they can't battle too early, because like we saw in the F4 race, you race too hard, the guy in third can win it.
Yeah, if this was to happen in real life, I'd have a lot of questions, but as it's just smart race management by the MPG boys. I mean, Braden Eves and Morgan Burkhardt, I'm sure they've practiced this even beyond just the 11 minutes that we've seen in the race. They've probably been doing some of this testing over the course of their open session, and as well as that in their closed MPG testing. So either way, impressive stuff from your top two as they continue to work well together. Pull down another 2/10 there on Budzinski that last lap through, and it looks like if they continue to do this, they can put themselves in a situation where they can duke it out for the race win with little to no pressure of getting caught by Elliot Budzinski over the last couple of laps.
Yeah, I mean, this is just incredible tactics here from your two leaders. Morgan Burkhardt has no plans to make a move in Braden Eves until he sees that white flag, the way they're battling here. But it's just beautiful driving from these two teammates who planned this out from the beginning, and it's working out for him. Budzinski closed the gap a little bit. It was 1.9. It's 1.7 now. So he's keeping these two guys honest. You know, you don't want to make a mistake if you're Burkhardt or Eves. We saw Eves go a little bit wide in the exit of turn one, and that's how Budzinski closed in about 2.5 tenths this lap. But he's gonna need about 6 more to get back in drafting range. A little further back here, let's see if there's any battles going on. There is. I believe Chase Jones and Patry are going at it a little bit for P7. So a little bit further back there, we're going to see a battle start to brew. There's Chase Jones, there's Patry, and there's Yoshikawa as well in P9. So about 2 seconds separate, 7th through 10th. So a decent battle starting to brew, but this is more of what we see kind of like in Monza in F1, right? It's a draft train where nobody can really get around each other, but this is proving to be a pretty decent ending here, Emery.
Yeah, sure. I mean, we're seeing big trains starting to form really behind Vos. It seems to be working in the bottle, because behind him, it's really about 8 tenths to 1 second increments from then on back. There's Jake Gortson inside the top 15 for him, or inside the top 10, now up to 10th position. So a good run from Gortson. Kale Patry as well as Isha Yoshikawa is also inside the top 10 as well. They're kind of trying to keep up with Chase Jones again, like we saw over the course of that last lap, just continuing to run consistent lap times. And, I mean, at this point, the battle for the race win is out the window for all of these guys, but at this point, it's all down personal pride. You can see on board there. There is Gortson continuing to fight his way up through the field. He's up to the 10th spot. I believe he started well outside of the top 15 as well, so impressive stuff there. But there is a look at your top three. It continues to be Braden Eves ahead of Morgan Burkhardt. Elliot Budzinski has now closed it down to 1.58 seconds. He's continued to find a tenth or two each lap, and he's keeping it consistently. So it's one of those things that the more he hangs around, the more keeps this front two in the battle down the stretch. Because if they try to get into the move, it's going to cost them time, especially wider sections of the track. We saw earlier in the F4 race, Hector Collis was able to make his way up into the front after really kind of getting a lifeline a couple times from the battle. So Collazo we saw with a brilliant display of how to kind of keep himself in a battle for third. This one's a little bit different with Brzezinski having to hunt him down, but still within 1.5 seconds, that is close enough where if they start battling in the last 2 laps, he will be there with at least some kind of shot to make a move down the stretch, Alex.
Yeah, I will say this. I mean, Braden Neves, the first sign of being human. Last time by, he made a little mistake in the carousel, went wide, and for a brief moment, Burkhardt got around him, but Eves got a good exit, and that's how Brzezinski closed the gap to 1.5 during that lap. So Braden Neves with the first mistake of the night for the number 41 machine. So I wonder if this is around the same time with 9 minutes to go that we saw the F4 cars start to have some tire drag. I wonder if Braden Neves is starting to feel pressure a little bit of Morgan Burkhardt, Brzezinski, as well as his tires starting to fade away. I mean, being the leader of a group, you tend to use up your tires a little bit more than the guys behind, like Burkhardt, like Brzezinski, even though Brzezinski right now, being in no man's land, is having to push a little bit harder than the likes of Burkhardt because he has no help out there. He's going to have to push a little bit harder than he would like to use up his stuff a little bit more. But so far, so good for Braden Neves, pulling a bit of a gap on Morgan Burkhardt. But right now, if I had to do a mid-race audible on my pick, I'd say Burkhardt's in the best spot here.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, you still want to be able to keep yourself in the race lead, but, I mean, Braden Neves continues to find himself. I mean, right now, those two continue to pull away just a little bit, and, I mean, they've still got 1.8 seconds on Elliot Brzezinski, so as they continue to pull away, they're not far enough away to necessarily be in the clear yet, but still continue to find just that little bit of extra paces. We now have a battle for the 4th spot. How about Giancarlo Schooler and Eli Warren fighting out for that 4th spot? Warren with a nice run, again, consistently inside the top 10 every session. He's found himself up to 5th with a good shot at 4th here as he hunts down Schooler for that 4th spot. The first of the mid-pack, really, is they're about 9 seconds behind Elliot Brzezinski here, Alex.
Yeah, Eli Warren absolutely flying. He was 3 seconds back from Schooler just a few laps ago, but Eli Warren has closed it to just under half a second. So the number 24 machine rolling right now through turns 1 and climbing the hill. He might have a decent shot entering the bus stop. He looks to be a little bit too far, but as they climb the hill, let's see if the draft's going to play a factor here. It is. Eli Warren climbing the gears through 5th and 6th gear now in the F3 cars. Let's see, he's going to get a good run. He's going to Schooler's going to have to go defensive. He won't. Eli Warren's going to get a free move down the inside and move him up into P4. So what a run for Eli Warren. And I mean, you can't really count him out. He's 11 seconds back, which is, it's quite a ways back. But we've seen crazier things happen. There's still a little bit under 8 minutes to go. So if those top 2, top 3 start to battle it out, you can't count out a guy like Eli Warren who has absolutely found his rhythm late in this one.
Yeah, I mean, Eli Warren continuing to put himself in a good spot. I mean, he's going to have a lot of work to do. I mean, 11 seconds around this track is an eternity. But if they battle up for the lead and Brzezinski can get there, then certainly you can see Eli Warren eventually finding himself up into the top 3. But it will take quite a bit of battle and quite a bit of chaos in front of him. But still, regardless, a good effort from Eli Warren. He's found himself to the top of the midfield with a good shot and maybe at least closing in that gap into the top 10. And how about Caleb Prix ahead of this battle for 9th position? He's made up a few spots, but now you can see Jake Gertzen continuing to go with his charge. I mentioned earlier he made up about 10 spots, now make it 15. He's up to 9th from 24th on the grid. He was faster than basically this entire group for a few laps, and now there's a spin behind him. I believe that might have been Jonathan Ocasio dropping out of this group, but I mean, regardless, this has been a good effort from Jacob Gertzen as he's now into the top 10. Looking for a couple more spots as it looks like Chase Jones starts to fall off a little bit over the course of this race, Alex.
Yeah, I mean, really, this is a 2-horse race and really almost a 3-horse race out front. 12 seconds back is your closest competitor to the top 3. So those top 3 guys are in a different zip code than the rest here. But it's a good battle a little bit further back, right? With Vaughn Beasley there in P6, Petrie, Chase Jones, Gertzen, like you said, continuing his charge forward, and it looks like it's not going to stop anytime soon because he's made up 15 spots, and he's only a few tenths away from Chase Jones to make it 16 spots up for Jake Gertzen. So it's a good run for him. And a little bit further back, I mean, Jeremy Fairbairn, he's put on quite a charge with a damaged race car to even make it back to 15th. So it's been a tale of pretty impressive drives for a bunch of drivers. Here's Jonathan Eno, who had a pretty scary wreck we saw earlier in the practice sessions. Let's see what happened to to the driver with the Red Bull helmet here, Emery.
Yeah, I just waiting to see exactly what happens in this replay. Antonino again, the Max Verstappen themed Miami helmet, not a Miami type ending for John Antonino as he slides it out of turn number 8, spins it almost a full spin. He's able to get it back going. Only lost about 6 seconds to Oliver Piatek, who was right in front of him at the time of the spin, but Antonino still going to have a lot of work to do to make up for that. But I mean, how about that for both Oliver Piatek as well as Jeremy Faber making up quite a bit of spots after their individual issues. We get a look at the number 10 of Cooper Van Horn. Looks like he's kind of further down the order, but looks like he lost it coming out of turn 9 there and kind of spun into the barrier. So difficult race for Van Horn, but I mean, again, the guys that made up a lot of spots, Faber and as well as Oliver Piatek, both of them showing out really well as now down the back straightaway. Again, you can see the top two pushing away. They've made up a couple attempts this last time through, continuing to pull away from Elliot Buzinski. They're almost to the point now where I would say they're comfortable to start battling, and they're going to start to catch up with some lap traffic here over the course of the next couple of laps here, Alex.
Yeah, it's the first bit of lap traffic that these drivers have encountered, so let's see how they're able to navigate it as they get to the boot section of the racetrack, as they're going to go down the hill and through the sweeping uphill right-hander here. Braden Neves, this is where he seems to have a little bit of an advantage over Morgan Burkhardt, who he always seems to pull away. Has a good job by the lapper there to get out of the way of the leaders here, but Braden Neves, whenever we get to this part of the racetrack, has a bit of an advantage over Morgan Burkhardt. Tends to have about a car length or two ahead of him, but it's helping Morgan Burkhardt almost carry him around the racetrack, right? Because it's increasing the gain that you get with a tow by having a bit of a gap between the two drivers. So that's why every single lap down the back straightaway we see them always, front wing to rear diffuser, and the strategy is paid off for these guys. As Budzinski now has fallen off the tail of this group here. He's 2.5 seconds back, so he's pretty much praying now that these two guys battle for about 2 laps here. But with the way these guys have been racing all race long, I don't suspect they're going to even try to make a pass until maybe a few corners to go.
Yeah, Budzinski's playbook at this point is pretty simple. Just hope that they wipe themselves out on the last lap, and Billy Vincent, Chase Jones, Rachel Bronte and company have a lot of words in their virtual chat room. I mean, that's pretty much the only way that Budzinski's going to find a way to win this one. But I mean, what an effort in terms of the two MPG boys continuing to work with good teamwork, and they're consistent. I mean, we've seen a couple of minor mistakes out of Brandon Eves, but that's to be expected when you're leading a race with no reference point for 25 minutes straight. I mean, it's natural you're going to miss your marks a couple of times. And so, I mean, to be able to do this, not really come under fire from anyone other than his teammate at any point during the race, it is super impressive. But for Budzinski, I mean, again, you got to hope for the best. And if not, I mean, you take a P3, you're still 10.5 seconds clear of Eli Warren in the 4th spot, who is a further 3 seconds up the road now from Giancarlo Schooler. So, I mean, this has been really strong efforts from each of your top 4 and different ways. From the top 2 in terms of Eves and Burkhardt, it's been nice working together. For Elliot Budzinski, I mean, continuing to stay within even any sort of prayer range of these front 2 has been super impressive considering the lack of draft for him. And then for Eli Warren, again, has not been the flashiest race. He's not in necessarily he's not in contention for the race win, but he's shown a lot of pace. He's been able to work his way through the midfield, and now, if anything happens among these top 3, he'll at least have a chance to pick up the scraps and get some sort of podium if anything happens. But down the main straight, again, 2 minutes and a little bit left to go here for Brandon Eves. Has led the entire race. He's got his teammate Morgan Burkhardt right there in tow, and we'll see if maybe this is the lap where they start to battle a little bit, Alex.
Yeah, let's see. I mean, Braden Eves, the past couple of laps, I've started to notice the hands, the gloves in the cockpit there, and this 41 machine is all over the place, sideways through most of the corners. So his tires are starting to go a little bit more than Morgan Burkhardt's, I'd say, because Burkhardt's car seems to be a little bit more stable right now than your leader. But Braden Eves showing his open wheel experience, showing his racing experience as a whole, and his iRacing experience as well. So he seems to have this thing under control so far with his teammate just behind him here. But through the carousel, Eves all sideways, carrying as much speed as possible through the carousel. And look at the gap that he's able to create over Morgan Burkhardt. And this gap that he's able to create in these sweeping sections of the racetrack gives him a bit of breathing room to know that his teammate isn't quick enough to make a lunge when it matters.
Yeah, certainly. I think that little bit of breathing room there, it might not prevent him from being under fire coming into the longer sections of the track, but there you can go defensive. It's a little bit harder to defend and not lose time coming through this tighter section. You can see Burkhardt closes all the way up. He's going to spot around, and Morgan Burkhardt is going to lose his rear end. He's going to lose second place in the process to Elliot Basinski. So a disaster from Morgan Burkhardt, and right there, looks like he wasn't trying to make an overtake, but certainly pushing for all it's worth, and he pushed one too many times. So Elliot Basinski gets to second. Burkhardt loses that second spot and loses any chance of challenging Brandon Eves for the race win. As we get a chance to look at the replay and just see, it looks like he never really looked for a move, just lost it under braking, Alex. I mean, that was something that you see more often here on older tires, but still a little bit of a bizarre mistake there from the number 2 machine, who still is on the podium, but has given up any shot at a race win.
Yeah, it's pretty shocking there for Morgan Burkhardt to have that mistake. As we see Braden Eves and Budzinski both pit for some fuel there, a little bit under-fueled for your leaders. As we see Burkhardt is going to stay out front. So I really wonder if Morgan Burkhardt might have pulled a masterclass here with how much fuel he has in the car, because Braden Eves and Budzinski had to pit for under-fueling their car. Morgan Burkhardt remains your leader, Emery.
I almost wonder if this is something similar to what you see in IndyCar, in the Indy 500, where if you're not in the race lead, if you're not leading a pack and you're not having to punch your own hole through the air, it allows you to kind of save that extra bit of fuel. I mean, we'll have to see. We'll wait for the checkered flag to come across, but at the moment, it looks really good for Morgan Burkhardt, and by extension, Eli Warren, Vaughn Beasley, and the rest of the field who have not had to pit. So, again, Burkhardt, for whatever reason, looks like he has the fuel to be able to make it to the race win. So impressive stuff there from Burkhardt. Eves and Budzinski were not able to save that kind of fuel, but I mean, still, Morgan Burkhardt able to get the lead back for the moment from what it looks like. So brilliant strategy if this is true. And I mean, we saw the spin on the last lap might end up being inconsequential there.
Yeah, Morgan Burkhardt on his way to a potential spin and win for the number 2 MPG driver. Who would have thought that a mistake would actually come back to maybe benefit him just a little bit here? A bit of a masterclass on how to save fuel and how to run a perfect race here. As the grid vision checkered flag is out, Morgan Burkhardt is going to win this one on a fuel strategy to perfection. Morgan Burkhardt recently signed for Michelin Pilot and TCR for next year. He's going to win the Stars Championship Series Empire Grand Prix presented by VRS and Race Lab. Second place, Eli Warren. Vaughn Beasley is going to round out your top 3 scorer with a solid 4th. And how about Gertson? What a run for him, up about 20 positions to finish in the top 5. Yoshikawa, top 6. Budzinski gets around Braden Eves to finish 7th. Eves crossed the line 8th. Jake Phillips with a decent run there in 9th. And how about Wilson there rounding out your top 10, Emery?
Yeah, I mean, some other notables. Oliver Piatek ends up in 11th after spinning early on in the race through contact. Kale Petrie in the 12th spot. Jonathan Castillo 13th. They're continuing to fight beyond there, as you see Johnny Antonino down the order as well. Of course, Papasavas with the issue we saw out of the carousel, or out of the bus stop. He's outside of the top 15. Wes Gumler down there, Chase Jones down there, and the rest of your F3 field that put on a show. But Morgan Burkhardt, I mean, not a traditional way to win a race, that's for sure, but fun with 2 to go, able to save the requisite fuel by pushing Braden Eves, and he walks away with a 9.5 second win over Eli Warren. Vaughn Beasley with a nice run to the podium as well. So again, this race got flipped on its head from fuel strategy, a little bit similar to what we saw on the earlier part of the day with the F4 action. So crazy to see that one come down again, but a solid effort from your race winner, Morgan Burkhardt, who comes away with the race victory after a phenomenal display of team effort and ultimately strategy in board the MPG Motorsports machine. He walks away with the win. Braden Eves going to be heavily disappointed to finish 8th. He did all he could not save enough fuel, and he will come up short here at Watkins Glen International, Alex.
Yeah, I mean, if there's ever a race where there should be 2 guys standing on that top step, I mean, it's Braden Eves and Morgan Burkhardt, because Morgan Burkhardt he won this on a beautiful, fuel saving strategy, but a lot of that is due to the fact that Braden Eves led for 25 minutes of this race, right? And like you mentioned, like we see it all the time in the Indy 500, the guys that sit there in 2nd and 3rd, they really don't want to make the pass because they can save about a lap or 2 more fuel in doing so, and really using half throttle sometimes on the straightaways. So that definitely benefited Morgan Burkhardt. And honestly, Braden Eves, I mean, maybe it was just a mistake on his part, didn't calculate how much fuel he needed, didn't pay attention to the fuel, right? Because if I was Eves, I would have maybe backed off and got behind Burkhardt for a little bit, but maybe he just didn't realize until it was too late. That being said, Morgan Burkhardt's your winner. Braden Eves is going to cross the line P8. So no matter what, though, the MPG guys, they put together a masterclass, and really this is the result they would have wanted, right? One of their drivers is on the top step, so congrats to Morgan Burkhardt for sure.
Yeah, and when you come in with this stacked of a field, 40 cars strong, I mean, there's bound to be some shenanigans going down. So if you're Morgan Burkhardt, if you're the MPG boys, you're happy either way. I mean, you still got the P1, which in this field was no given after that race. So, I mean, impressive to see that from Morgan Burkhardt. Impressive for Brittany Eves the entire race. I mean, to lead that race so flawlessly. I mean, really all three of the top three put together a great showing in terms of how to be able to pull away consistently. I mean, Burkhardt, again, the patience. Elliot Vazinski pushing for all of his work to stay with Eves and Burkhardt. I mean, all of them put together a great effort. But at the end of the day, it's Morgan Burkhardt with a phenomenal standout win with some field strategy, but still nonetheless an impressive drive from the MPG Motorsports machine. He gets the win here in F3, and we'll have more of the post-race coverage coming up next after the commercial break.
Karting is one of the most intense forms of motorsport, and if you manage a racetrack or commercial facility, you know how hard it is to find good help. Let us introduce to you our newest track safety product, the 4-flag light system from Pixelcom. Pixelcom products are incredibly affordable, and our plug-and-play system makes the only requirements lights and a wireless remote. The ability to upgrade your system with intuitive software and additional products makes this the perfect system for tracks of all sizes. Communicating with drivers on track will make your program run more smoothly and, most importantly, increase safety dramatically once deployed. Find us online today at tracksystemsna.com and let us elevate your motorsport.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head to head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
This is our VRS Direct Force Pro wheelbase, which is the heart of any sim racing setup. It's designed to give you the best possible feedback for all sim racing titles, and it was co-developed with the world's best sim racers to make sure it's fit for competition.
Right from the beginning of the development of the VRS systems, we threw it straight in the deep end. We were racing World Championship level events, and that allowed us to get the best possible idea of what we needed in that competitive environment to be able to push the product forward to obviously what you're seeing today.
I think the most important features are just having really good detail through the wheel. I think the software and how it kind of interacts and sends you the detail makes a huge difference. And for me, since using the VRS Direct Force Pro, that's greatly improved my wanting to drive just because it's so much more fun, you get more detail.
And other than that, of course, the feedback is really important. Heavy but also very subtle forces behind it, so you can constantly feel what the car is doing. I think that's really important, not just for racing, but when you really have to go deep into building a setup, you really need to feel what the car is doing. And obviously the rig arm isn't really moving around, so you need to feel all those subtle little things in the wheel.
The wheelbase makes use of an industry-proven midge servo motor, directly feeding up to 20 Newton meters of torque to your steering wheel with close to zero mechanical notchiness, damping, or friction. The shaft can be equipped with an adapter to make it suitable for any wheel. The brain of the wheelbase is within the compact USB motor controller, which features a fanless power supply for silent operation and a dynamic brake resistor to provide the smoothest and most responsive operation possible. Our firmware is provided on our website to give you full control of the wheelbase with multiple profiles for different sim racing titles, completely customizable to your liking, and is all designed to help you get on pace faster. You can shop for the VRS Direct Force Pro wheelbase and all our other hardware directly on our website vrs.racing.
Welcome back to the Stars Championship Series Empire Grand Prix presented by VRS and RaceLab only on Grid Vision. We have our top 3 drivers here waiting to be spoken to. We're going to start out with Vaughn Beasley, our P3 finisher. Vaughn, it was a pretty quiet race, eventful in the opening couple of laps, quiet race for you, but you stuck away with a P3 there. I mean, how are you feeling after this one?
That was a fun one for sure. The start kind of killed me. I had a slowdown coming off of turn 1. So having to give up that time on the first lap just kind of ruined everything. But just being able to keep my nose clean throughout the whole race and start moving back up just was the key to this. So, I mean, it was a lot of fun, especially racing with some of these big names out here. I mean, I've only been racing for 2 years in karting. So being able to race with these huge names is just awesome. So I really appreciate the opportunity to run with this race today.
Yeah, and Vaughn, I mean, you're looking at really an insanely stacked 40-car field. I mean, we saw in practice and qualifying, there was within half a second within the top 15 or 20. I mean, how does that translate to the race? Because we saw a lot of good battling, a lot of draft trains, almost to where it was difficult to pass. But when you go into a field like this and you have so many close guys, what's your mindset from a racecraft standpoint to try to get your way back through the field after what looked to be a little bit of a rough start for you?
That's what my teammate Eli Warren and I were trying to figure out the whole time. We were, well, as you were saying, qualifying was super close. So just being able to get a good starting spot, knowing that this is a long race ahead of us, and be able to use that time and just kind of have some good races and try to stay where we are and move up some. So I think the main key was, again, just keeping my nose clean and being able to be there at the end of the race where it mattered.
Yeah, and one more thing, Vaughn. I mean, I saw a couple of drivers towards the end of that race starting to struggle with tire deg and maybe overheating their tires a little bit. Is that something that you felt inside the cockpit?
Yeah, for sure it was. I was kind of, one of the huge things with iRacing is really just that managing that surface temperature of your tires. So just being able to keep that controlled was a huge key to also going back through the pack. But a huge thing was also the fuel saving too. Some of the guys up front, I know, were fuel saving a little bit. So kind of just picking and choosing where to fuel save and where to not fuel save was also a big key.
All right, well, thank you, Vaughn, and congrats on a P3 finish there.
Thank you.
Eli, P2 finish there, your teammate P3. Talk to me about that one. How did it go from your perspective?
I mean, yeah, we had a horrible qualifying. I knew qualifying was really important, and I just screwed up my lap. I got 11th qualifying. I knew that I was in mid-pack, so I knew the start was going to be chaos, and it was. I think by lap 2, I was in 15th, and I kept my head down. I didn't make any mistakes. I passed people when I had the opportunity. I didn't spin. And I think by about lap 7 or 8, I was 6th. Then I worked my way up to 4th, and I thought I was going to finish 4th, and then just chaos happened on the last lap. I saw front 2 pull into the pits, and I was worried. I thought I was going to run out of fuel myself, and I came home P2.
Yeah, and Eli, I mean, talk me through that. When you get yourself into that 4th place position, you had 10 seconds behind, or 10 seconds in front of you. You had a solid 3 seconds behind you by the time it kind of settled down on the last couple of laps. So how difficult is it to continue hitting your marks and kind of stay, I guess, disciplined with how aggressive you have to be on this track? I mean, we saw so many guys using all of the track and a lot of curve as well coming through the bus up area. I mean, how difficult was it to kind of continue hitting your marks with no real reference point either in front of you or behind you?
I mean, I just kept focused. You know, I knew if I pushed too hard, I was likely to spin. So I mean, I didn't push that hard, honestly. You know, I had a good gap behind me, like 10 seconds in front of me. So I took it easy. I tried to conserve my tires as much as I could if something did happen. I didn't even think about saving the fuel. You know, I was on a call with Vaughn the whole time, and he mentioned fuel about halfway through. I didn't think we were going to run out. I didn't save it all until the very last lap. I really don't know how they ran out, honestly. But so I kept my head down. I knew if I made a mistake, I was probably going to spin and it would all be over. But I didn't make any mistakes and I just hit my marks.
Eli, one more thing here. I want to know, because you were mentioning, I was like, I was gonna say you're in P4, and that's where you thought you were gonna finish. But a lap and a half to go, you see Brad and Benzynski, pitting, and you see Burkhardt there spinning a little bit. I mean, what was kind of your reaction to those final couple of laps, and how were you feeling about it?
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't even paying attention to what happened in front of me, and then I noticed on my relative that Burkhardt had spun, and I was like, oh wow. And then my spotter told me the leader's in the pits, and I was just like, no way. And I thought Burkhardt, I thought I was going to win for a second because I thought all three of them wrecked. But I coming down the front stretch on the last lap, I knew I was P2. I didn't know if Burkhardt had enough fuel because I knew that he was with Eves the whole time, and Eves had ran out. So, yeah, it was a shock to me. You know, I was expecting fourth place for a good 10 minutes, and just for it to all change in 20 seconds, it was kind of a shock to me.
And one last thing, Eli. I mean, at the end of the day, you come away with a second place. This is on the back of what was really a productive opening year of senior karting. And as you get into 2024, I mean, obviously there's a lot more to this than just the sim racing side of things. But what does this, as well as some of the other results that you've had over the course of the second half of the 2023 season, add to your confidence as you head into your second season of senior karting and some more car stuff as well on the side?
Yeah, I mean, it just gives you confidence. You know, I think you whenever you're first starting out, you just need that one good result. And, you know, I've had those over my career, but recently I've started to just piece together good results after good results. And, you know, I've never been too good at the sim, honestly. Like, it's one of my worst spots. And I practiced pretty hard for this race. And to come up with a P2 in this field, it gives me a big confidence boost on the sim. But it's really fun to race on the sim. So especially against some of these guys, you know, they're so good. Obviously, these people, some of them aren't from karting, you know, they're just sim guys. And to be able to run with them, it gives me a lot of confidence.
All right, well, thank you, Eli. Congrats on a P2, bud.
Thank you.
All right, shifting over to Morgan Burkhardt. Morgan, I mean, you sat there P2 for the entirety of this one until about a lap and a half to go, and then you had a half spin, and you must have been thinking to yourself, oh man, this one's over for me. And then your teammate goes out there and pits because he runs out of fuel. I mean, describe that final lap and a half sequence.
Yeah, no, it was. I knew sitting on the grid in the first few laps that I was going to have to save a little bit of fuel, and I don't think that Braden knew that, so I was just going to sit behind and push him and make sure that he couldn't really save anything. Kind of force his hand there, but yeah, going last lap and a half going into the heel of the boot, I had been rolling the brake bias further backwards as we went through the race because the dirty air was kind of glazing over the front tires and didn't have a whole lot of front end grip, so kept moving the brake bias back, and then he was trying to select his stuff in the black box for pitting, and he broke a little early, and that caught me way off guard, and I hit the brakes pretty hard, locked up the rears. I'm just glad I didn't take out Benzynski and was able to keep going, but figured that they were both going to have to pit, and then just saved real hard on the last lap to make sure that I got home. I think I crossed the line with like 0.1 of a lap to go.
Yeah, and so Morgan, I mean, on the surface level, it looked like a lot of great teamwork from the MPG boys, and you guys had a 1-2 for the entire race. But I mean, like you mentioned, beneath the surface level, first off, I mean, like you were mentioning to me before the interview, it wasn't something that you guys had really practiced. So take me through the strategy to push them, and then also, I mean, just continue to explain that fuel saving, enforcing Brad's hand there, because it looked like for the longest time it was kind of a cooperative thing where the two of you were just able to pull away from Elliott a little bit, but then obviously it worked out for you strategically and being able to save fuel at the end.
Yeah, it was a bit of double-edged sword. We knew that we had a pretty good gap at the end of the first lap. It was about a second, like just around the drafting area. So I knew that I didn't really want to fight Brad. He had a little bit of pace on me, and I could save a little bit of tire, save a little bit of fuel just by sitting behind and pushing him. And I'd seen it done before in this car. I hadn't really tried it yet, so I decided to real gently push him. And doing that, I was lifting a bunch and saving a bunch of fuel. I was going down the back straight at like 45% throttle. So just in contact with him, we were both going faster. I was saving fuel, and he was flat out. So, and ended up gaining a little bit there.
Yeah, and Morgan, I mean, I got word a little bit before this stream here that you recently signed a Michelin Pilot and TCR entry with Victor Gonzalez Racing. I mean, talk to me a little bit about that sort of deal.
Yeah, no, that's been incredible for the last month and a half. We've been trying to put that together, and today put pen to paper to put it into reality. It's a little surreal to be going and competing on such a huge stage, and the IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge is a lot of really fast guys, a lot of really good talent in there, and I can't thank enough Victor Gonzalez and Billy Vincent and Jackson Gardner for helping me through and kind of hold my hand while we walk through this whole process. And I'm really excited to get started in January next year.
All right. Well, thank you, Morgan, and congrats on a P1 here, buddy.
Thank you very much.
All right. Well, that just about wraps it up here from Grid Vision. These guys put together a good show as always, and expect more from Grid Vision as we get set to do some broadcasts with the eNASCAR Series, Stars Championship Series, and much more with iRacing, as well as quick shout out to the Stars Championship Series, right? We haven't put together an esports style event in quite some time, Emery, but you kind of competed a little bit 2 years ago, and how cool is it to see Stars bring back the esports side of things?
Yeah, I mean, it's great, to be honest, and it really kind of combines a lot of different people from different backgrounds, because normally, you don't get a chance to race guys that maybe just run K or just run Briggs on a regional level, or just exclusively sim racing. And Stars kind of intertwines the community where you have the chance to race against fellow kart racers, but you also get a chance to race against guys that you normally wouldn't race. So I think it's a really cool thing. I personally enjoyed doing it a few years ago, even though I was really not good at it at all. I mean, I'm not a huge sim person, so I mean, it's incredible to see this kind of environment. I'm excited to see, as we get into 2024, not only to see how this continues to build off of the Empire Grand Prix, but also getting into the main karting season. I mean, a lot of fun stuff going on for Stars heading into 2024. I mean, coming to my hometown in Charlotte, seeing the Queen City Gambit, that will be an exciting one. I'm excited to see a lot of the same faces that we saw up at the front today continuing to represent the Stars Championship Series going on into 2024. So it'll be an exciting one, but a great start tonight as we got to see some fun racing, both in F4 as well as a phenomenal F3 final event there, Alex.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned the Queen City Gambit, right? How cool is it to be back at Charlotte Motor Speedway, a track that no major series has been to in quite some time there, and I think it's one of the more underrated tracks in the country for karting. And I mean, it's a track that you and I both driven on here. And so talk to me a little bit about kind of your thoughts on that racetrack and how cool it is to see a major series go back there.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really flowing track. I think that some drivers are not the biggest fan of it, but in terms of the actual racing it produces, and in terms of the racecraft that's required to be able to be faster on that place, it is something that I think a lot of people will fall in love with over the course of the weekend. And that'll be fun to watch. I mean, personally, I've never seen shifters drive on that track. I think that's going to be a fun challenge with how wide it is, but also with how big the curves are and kind of the risk versus reward in that sense. But I think as a whole, Charlotte Motor Speedway, one of the most iconic venues in the United States. It's personally something that I'm very partial to, having grown up really close to it. I've seen a lot of great racing there. I got to see a lot of the kart racing back before the repave, and ever since then, with the new repave coming in the last few years, it hasn't really seen a huge race, but I'm confident that the Queen City Gambit 2024, we're going to see a lot of fun racing there at the Speedway. Really a great time to bring one of the best venues in the sport back to prominence here in North American karting. So something I'm really looking forward to. Cannot wait for that, just a few months away. I think tonight was a good teaser of some of the action we're going to get on the karting track here in 2024, Alex.
Yeah, and I mean, we heard from Christian Marsh earlier as well about potentially having a like an endurance style race with the semi-pro and the pro guys. So we got a cool set of races planned out potentially for the coming months in the Stars Championship Series and the esports side of things. So that's something to look forward to as well. But as we get ready to wrap this up here, a quick shout out to all of our sponsors, VRS, Race Lab, and then Grid Vision for putting this all together, as well as the Stars Championship Series. From the entire GV team, we'd like to thank you guys for watching and participating in the chat. For more information on getting your league broadcasted or starting your career broadcasting, please contact us on Facebook or X, and even email us at info@gridvision.live. Congratulations to Cavallo and for Morgan Burkhardt on winning tonight's race from Watkins Glen. My name is Alexander Searle, alongside me, Emery Lida, and our producer Taylor Burris. We'll see you next time on The Grid.